Thank you for staying, Ghana, for time now for the news. And on our first story, we begin from the Aiso constituency, where lawyer Kwabena Boateng won the by-election with 27,782 votes, representing 55.8% of the total votes cast, while Mr. Kwabena Owusu-Eduomi, an independent candidate, garnered 21,534 of those votes, representing 43.3% of the total votes cast. This, however, has come amidst allegations of vote buying, with the evidence of a viral video of the Member of Parliament for Kwadaso, Professor Kingsley Nyako, dropping a white envelope on the table of some EC officials. But the legislator denies it and says it was just a favor. Now, are there any legal and moral implications of his action? We actually will be serving you some details on that. While still on elections, flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has challenged the Ghanaians to take up individual and collective roles as citizens to help in poverty alleviation. Dr. Bawumia has thus pledged to provide conducive and an all-inclusive environment for teaching, learning and skills development if he gets the nod to be president. He said this when he joined the Gamanche and Father Campbell to cut a sod for the construction of the Mother Teresa Soup Kitchen in Mamprobi.
Best aide Father Andrew Campbell is the brain behind the Mother Teresa Soup Kitchen. He commended Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia for his commitment towards the well-being of the downtrodden in society.
The street children, the poor and the needy, thus the reason for cutting the sod here this morning, here at Sempe. This is a dream come true. I thank His Excellency, Dr. Bawumia, for his continuous support over the years. He kept encouraging me, supporting me, and pushing me during the hard times when I was looking for land.
Education Minister Dr. Yahweh Duchum also underscored the need to have contemporary educational infrastructure for a successful implementation of STEM education in Ghana.
And we cannot talk about 21st century education in 19th century buildings. So there will be an alignment. 21st century buildings with 21st century education.
On his part, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia challenged the Ghanaian people to play their part in uplifting the less privileged in a bid to eliminate the phenomenon of street children from Ghana.
Our goal is to end the canker of street children as we provide a conducive environment for teaching, learning and skills development for these children. This is in line with government policy on gender, children and social protection, where major interventions have been made under our administration, and we hope to do even more come next year by the grace of God, when I form a new government.
The Vice President also kick-started his presidential campaign in the Greater Accra region with pistol stops and door-to-door engagements with traders in the Drum-Kwabena constituency. Spokesperson for the Vice President, Dr. Gideon Bwako, in an interview with Joy News after the tour, said retail campaign is going to be the strategy going forward.
The Vice President's level of humility and how he thinks leadership must engage the people. He feels that the communication or interaction between him and the electorate should not be the rally type of engagement, but rather going to the people in their hamlets, in their kiosks, in their offices, in their homes. Let them also feel that you are a servant leader and you are ready to humble yourself to come.
Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia is expected to continue with his campaign on Wednesday.
Now, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, a founding member of the New Patriotic Party, has expressed deep concerns about the politicization and tribalization of Ghana's military impacting its dignity and traditional roles. At the launch of General Nunu Mensah's book, A Legacy of Service to Humanity, he urged the military to abstain from involvement in the 2024 general elections.
The military has always been apolitical. The military has never played any political role unless they are in power. The then leaders of the armed forces have a reason for doing that, so that you can have a cohesion, an armed forces that is not tribalized, an armed forces that is apolitical, an armed forces that will definitely be armed forces for the country, because the Ghana armed forces fight an external power, not internal power. Now, unfortunately, as I speak now, the military is being politicized. No one can deny that. I know it. Why do I say so? The method that was used years back is no more being applied. Now, what we hear of so-called protocol listing, when members of either political parties or even clansmen are put into the armed forces. And this is very dangerous for the armed forces. And I hope this will stop soon. In this country, by their training, they hardly mix with civilians unless there's a special directives being given. Before special directives will be given, then there must be something that cannot be controlled by the police. And when you see the military attacking the population, then there's something wrong with the command structure. So in situations that military men are deployed, when there is no tension or stress, to polling stations is completely out of order, totally out of order. So to me, the military has no role to play whatsoever in this coming election in December.
Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, meanwhile, echoed worries about the nation's trajectory, suggesting a lack of concern from its leaders.
The direction the government or the country is going, which I believe is wrong. And I've been trying to shout and shout. Nobody is listening to me. Like a driver, you're in a car that the driver is driving, he's going to a ditch. You are shouting, you are pushing, he doesn't mind you. You're going to crash. Ghana is going to crash. So the idea is to get the media to tell the people, tell Ghanaians, tell the world that we are heading towards disaster. That's the whole idea about this launch. It's not to get anything out of it. It's to express my frustration about the way the country is going. People of this country walk around frustrated with their jobs. One of these days, they're going to, like June 4th, they're going to blow up and mess us all up. That is the essence of today's, is to let the government know that the issue is serious. If they wouldn't listen to me, at least I'm going public, let the media take it to the people. If they wouldn't listen to me, there's nothing else. I've done my bit.
And that was Brigadier General Nunu Mensah. Now, in a poignant testament to resilience, 2 survivors of child trafficking have defied the odds, braving the storms of their past to pursue higher education. Against the backdrop of adversity, these individuals have emerged as beacons of hope, their journeys marked by courage and determination. At the forefront of this narrative stands the Village of Life, a beacon of hope for survivors of trafficking. There's more in this report.
At the forefront of this narrative stands the Village of Life, in Kitakrachi in the Uti region, which is a beacon of hope for survivors of trafficking. The director of Village of Life, George Achibra, reflecting on their arduous journey. He emphasized the transformative power of education in breaking the chains of exploitation.
So we start to do some sensitization and educate them. Thank God, the government of Ghana has not slept on these issues. Laws have been enacted. Apart from the Children's Act, apart from even the treaty that we signed with the United Nations concerning the CRC, the Convention of the Rights of the Child, boxing all these kind of particulars, then we need that we have good material that we can talk. So I think that is the first thing I think the government of Ghana, and looking at our constitution, it also forms of even misuse and manhandling of children. So it has even softened us and given us the real powers for us to speak to fishermen and perpetrators who are really manhandling our children. And so that is how PACODEP started. And there was no word that we can use that we say Partners in Community Development Program. So quickly PACODEP came to be. And as a sole founder and a leading, I need people who can reason with me and who can join me to fight this madness against children. So this is briefly about how it came to be. And as a young teacher in the classroom, I still double up my time. Any other extra time, I visit the islands to speak to people, to change the mindset so that we can own these our children. We may be living not quite soon, but we need people who will replace us. The various professions that we have, call it anything, the journalist, the lawyer, the teacher, the president, what have you. We need to get people who will replace us for tomorrow so that our Ghana will not even completely equal to the US or any of the Western world, but it must getting closer for a beautiful country like this.
The stories shared by these survivors, now full-grown men, offer a glimpse into the harrowing realities they endured and the triumphs they have achieved. Despite facing unimaginable hardships in their formative years, they refuse to be defined by their past, instead choosing to chart a new course toward academic excellence and personal growth.
How old were you when you were brought here? And what were you doing? Where were you rescued from?
Okay, at first I was with my mother at Adam. So that was the story they told me because I was too young. They said I was with my mother at Adam. So she was sick. So one of my aunties took me to Karachi, that is just a lakeside. So according to her, that she asked me as I want to go to school. So she said then I should follow her, I will come and school here. So we were there first year, second year I was not going to school. I was rather going to the lake. So by God willing, Mr. Chibra, the director, came and saw me on the lake. I was working for the man. So he picked me to the home here. Actually, I cannot say the actual year I cannot say, but 4 or 5 years, I guess, 4 or 5 years. So I came to the shelter here, they took care of me, feeding, everything, schooling. So I entered the first class, the nursing. I entered, I passed here, I got to JHS3, I wrote my BC and I passed. And they continue to take care of me. They send me to SHS, that is Ashkopor Senior High School. So we just completed last year.
And you have beautiful results.
When I was a kid, I was with my parents and my uncle came for me to come and stay with him in one of the islands around Kitegachi. So I was with him, helping him to do his fishing job, and he wasn't taking me to school, and it was very bad. Sometimes see your colleagues in uniforms and then you weren't in uniform, very hurting and pathetic. So I was with him working, and PACODEP came to my aid, and I was rescued. I was 2011, 12 there. So I came to Village of Life and I started my primary 2, and I try my best. I'm trying to catch up things because first time in class 2 and it was something new to me. So I was trying my best and I passed through. So I schooled at Hope College, Goma Pete. I'm very glad I've completed successfully from that school and I am out with a good result now. Now I'm preparing to go to any tertiary institution now.
What message do you have for government on issues of child trafficking?
All right, so what I have for the government is that it's not that the people doing the wrong things don't know exactly what they are doing. They know what they are doing, but they don't know the negative effect it have on the children they are dealing with. So I would suggest if the government can make a provision like giving education to all people from islands and people who are taking children into this difficult situation, not taking them to school, denying them from health facilities and food and shelter. I think the government have to work on it by giving them education, and failure to obey the government rules, I think the individual should be punished for that.
The first appeal, I want them to support the man so that he can continue, because I know I'm not the only victim. Many people are up there that needs help, so I want them to help the man so that they can join the work so that they help them.
I have also been interacting with 3 young siblings who were rescued from child trafficking and now in school. Expertise France, a French public agency with funding from the European Union, has played a pivotal role in supporting survivors of trafficking on their path to recovery. Through its comprehensive programs and holistic approach, Expertise France has empowered survivors with the tools they need to reclaim their lives and pursue their dreams. Speaking on the agency's efforts, the project manager of Expertise France, Ghana, Serge Akpalu, underscored the importance of a multifaceted approach in combating trafficking and supporting survivors.
So Expertise France is implementing a project on behalf of the European Union, and our project is called Support the Fight Against Human Trafficking in the States of the Gulf of Guinea. So as part of this project, we are present in 6 countries in the sub-region, namely Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Benin, and Nigeria. So in all these countries, the project is looking at 4 main components. The first one being the institutional consolidation, the second one being the law enforcement component, the third one being the protection of victims.
Now, she was born into a traditional farming family and naturally developed love for agriculture. But her love grew beyond the use of hoes and cutlasses to include operating tractors on farmlands. 28-year-old Peace Aiku is looking at crushing boundaries of tradition to venture into a space long dominated by men, agricultural mechanization. In Joy Prime's latest feature titled The She-Mex, my colleague Emmanuel Jivenu traveled to the Adidome Farm Institute and filed this report.
It is a quiet revolution taking place, fueled not by defiance, but by determination. Young ladies from the Adidome Farm Institute, in a field long dominated by men, agriculture mechanization.
for me, the one that makes me more happy, though I started with farming, with the mindset of farming, but when I got here and trying laying hands on the machines, it seems I love the machines more than.
Breaking barriers, challenging stereotypes, and yearning to modernize agriculture, these promising students are crushing the notion that some fields are reserved for one gender.
They mostly say that what is men's work that ladies cannot do. What men can do, women can do it more. It's not just a saying. I saw it on telly myself, a lady operating a JCB. And so I was like, meaning is real, that what men can do, we can also do it better.
Peace Ayuku, raised by farming parents, is looking at going beyond the boundaries of tradition. Inspired by a news feature of a woman operating a tractor, her resolve to challenge stereotypes is unwavering.
It gives me some confidence that if I get the chance, I'll also learn how to do that.
As they maneuver through the fields, they are not just operating a tractor, but steering a path towards a future where gender does not determine one's role in agriculture.
If I am able to undergo this training and I complete, let's say I tend to do my own farming, I know how to operate my machines, it will make it very easy for me. And so everything here was very excited and I was very happy about the institute.
Oil, at the same time, what? Fuel. So that's a situation where you see colorful smoke coming from what? The Aisos.
There appears to be high demand for skilled female tractor operators on commercial agriculture farms.
Women have been observed to be very efficient and take very good care of the tractors, the environment, and then the personnel, that is the people on the tractor and the colleagues around. So women have proved to do very well in these areas, and I think that is why we have a lot of companies very particular about recruiting female tractor operators.
These ladies challenging norms and plowing their way into a brighter, gender-inclusive future for agriculture in Ghana. Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy Prime.
And those are the Shemex breaking that glass ceiling. And that's how we cap off the news this morning. But stay with us. Up next, we have Dr. Kwame Asasanti joining us for the news review.
Emergence of Parkinson's disease among younger age groups signifies a significant departure from conventional understanding and underscores the pressing need for heightened awareness and support systems tailored to address the unique challenges faced by these patients. Speaking about the evolving landscape of Parkinson's disease, Dr. Cham emphasized the importance of collective efforts in providing comprehensive care and support to patients, regardless of age.
There are 4 gaps that we are trying to close. The first one is the awareness gap. People being aware that it is a disease is a problem, because some people attribute it to old age, others attribute it to spiritual problems and a lot of other things. So that is the first challenge we face, raising awareness that it is a disease. Secondly, diagnosing Parkinson's disease is difficult, even for healthcare workers. Even for some doctors, it's difficult to diagnose Parkinson's disease because it's not something they see often. Because those who have it sometimes are in their communities, they don't have money to come to the hospital. And even some of them, when they come and you tell them how much the drugs cost, they just go back home because they don't have the money. That brings me to the next challenge, treating Parkinson's disease. The medicines are expensive. The medicine used to treat Parkinson's disease is called levodopa. It's either Sinemet or Madopa. They are both quite expensive. You can spend as much as 1,000 Ghana cedis per person per month to treat Parkinson's disease. This is too much for people in my setting, in the rural Ghana. They are having trouble affording the medication. The last challenge is about information about Parkinson's disease. How common is it in Ghana? How common is it in Africa? What causes it? What are the genetic factors, scientific factors? We are lacking quite a bit of knowledge about Parkinson's disease because we realize that what causes it in black Africans is different from what causes it in whites, in Caucasians, is different from what causes it in Arabs and other races. Therefore, we cannot borrow research or data. We have to do our own and find out what is causing it. So these are the 4 gaps we are trying to close with the TRAPCAF project. TRAPCAF stands for Transforming Parkinson's Care in Africa. There are 7 African countries that are part of this. It is funded by the UK's National Institute of Health and Care Research under the umbrella of Newcastle University. So we are working with people in South Africa, in Tanzania, Kenya, Egypt, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and then Ghana. In Ghana, we are working with Kolebu Teaching Hospital and Komfonoche Teaching Hospital. We would like to appeal to the government to consider the needs of people with Parkinson's disease. It is a disease that mostly affects the elderly, above 60, but we have started seeing it in young people, as young as 28, 30 years of age. We suspect that it is linked to chemicals within our environment. It can be pesticides, it can be petrochemicals.
The Parkinson's Support Group meeting served as a platform for patients, caregivers, and healthcare professionals to exchange experiences, share insights, and explore strategies to enhance the quality of life for individuals affected by Parkinson's disease. Participants engaged in open discussions about symptom management, treatment options, and the emotional toll of living with the condition. Acknowledging the multifaceted nature of Parkinson's disease, Dr. Cham underscored the importance of holistic care approaches that address not only the physical symptoms but also the psychological and social aspects of the condition. Some of the patients have been speaking on the issue with Joy News.
The question you will be answering for me is, plenty of people say there's no cure for this disease, whether it is true or not. So that will be your a reservation you will give me at the end of that. As we are mentioning, I'm Chini Roland.
You are?
Chini Roland.
Yes, sir. Okay.
I started life at Valco.
Valco?
Yes.
Okay.
Where I work in Cabo.
Okay.
And the dust is all over the place. It is because of the fear of the effect I decided to go to Anangu.
Okay.
But when I came back, I came to join the teaching service.
Okay.
So I pensioned as a teacher. And naturally, even when you are teaching, you are farming alongside.
Okay.
So I've been farming too. I don't know which source actually the disease came from, whether it's the farming or it is the smelter work which brought it. I don't know.
Daddy, did you use weedicide or pesticides in your farming?
Plenty.
Plenty. Do you remember some of the names? And
About,
where did you go?
About 2 years to my pension.
2 years to your pension?
That is in 2012. So the thing started around 2010.
2010, okay.
Then I was the secretary to the church.
Okay.
But anytime I take the pen now to write, then I see that the hand shakes so much. So I can say that.
Yes. You can say that.
The disease started around the 2010.
Around 2010.
Here. You know, Zima. Come from Zafia. Ananya jadoma va kamizala agleda ko franya vaku. Ko vai je pure water ven. Fa fe to manu kwa. E ko jojo titi gala na manu. E ji ko je mele. Aglo ko ma je ma oda ko ma ga oda ko bi fa ton kien. Ko ma hala da eleni.
This is my reason. I was putting up this thing. But because of the disease, they has left. And my grandfather's house there, the walls are broken. I started blocks. But with this disease, they are all broken down and left and undone. So if they can help me, as they are helping the disabled, I can also put up the building and then get some purpose, put my head. This one too, it is breaking. If you look at the back, it is falling. So if I don't complete this and this falls, then I have no place to sleep. So government can help me, or I appeal to benevolent donors, as well as the government, to help me put up my things and for my food feeding, if they can do.
By fostering a culture of empathy, understanding, and support, communities can play a pivotal role in helping Parkinson's patients lead fulfilling and dignified lives, irrespective of age and circumstance. Ivy Sotoji, Joy News, Sugakope.
Welcome back on the AM show. If you're still at home enjoying yourself, I can't say I am jealous of you. Right? But it's that kind of morning. I was just reading a joke on social media that said, you know, when you have a day off, it is not the day off that is the most enjoyable. It is the night before the day off that is the most enjoyable. And interestingly, someone in the back room just whispered that. I'm wondering what she knows that the rest of us don't know. But it's time now for the news review. It's brought to you courtesy of Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And what are they offering you? If you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. Now, they are here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Bwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takrade, Anaji Estate, in Tema Community 22, in Techiman Hanswa and Esiamanzama. You can reach them on 0244 867 765 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, and joining us this morning, we have Dr. Kwame Asah-Sante, as always on a Wednesday morning. He is a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. He joins the conversation this morning. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, Ben. How are you, my brother?
I am well. I'm very well. I hope you are too.
I'm also fine.
And when I say I'm very well, you rely on a bit of serendipity and not because everything is picture perfect.
I know.
But we make the most of the situation. But Doc, permit me. Show.
Please do. Go ahead.
So,
yes.
Some entities in the media, when someone does work and you don't have it, and it happens to all of us, you know, there are a few times when some other entities will have something that the multimedia group Joy will not have, and you have to give credit here and there. But some entities, Aswadin Music, you want to use our content and not give any credit and blur out stuff. It's a shame. Be more professional. You know whom I'm talking about. And for those of you who have seen their stories, I mean, you are up there as well. So why not do the right thing? You know yourselves. I'll not mention where you are located, but you know yourselves. Yesterday, I nearly shot it to someone in that entity. I mean, why would you do something like that? Blur out the other, when you know that we are the ones with the footage. Everybody knows. So what are you doing to yourself? Anyway, We'll start off the conversation with something that is burning on your chest. If Aiso is what is burning on your chest, you can get to it. There's still ECG's power outages. Herbert Crapper, the board chair of ECG, said, listen, it's going to be over with in a few days. The question is, how long is a few days? Someone told me that on some other show, I don't want to mention, some host had alluded to the fact that Herbert Crapper had told him, supposedly, allegedly, 10 days. Well, this would be the 8th day, which would mean it would be left with 2 days. But interestingly, in my neighborhood, power outages have actually increased. So I'm asking myself, Ibi lau or Ibi for the vanishing? We'll see. But Doc, over to you. Any quick thoughts you have? We'll definitely get into the Aiso issue. We'll go to myjoyonline.com, graphic online, and we'll do some BBC. But over to you, Doc.
Yes, Ben, I had something in mind before watching just the clip before we started the program. But upon looking at what I have said, quickly something comes to mind, and let me just throw it out. I wanted to talk about Aiso, but that one, we have more time to look at it. So quickly, I want to look at the Parkinson disease. The little that I listened to from the gentleman is that, look, it's gradually becoming a reality in Ghana that there are people living with that condition. Yes, and I am happy, and I commend the physicians who have started, that advocacy, giving us education on the disease and how we can help people in that condition. Brilliant. He did say that one of the causes is with the use of weedicide or pesticide. And if I heard him correctly, I am worried because if you look around these days, farming, people have stopped using cutlasses and then hoes to weed. They have now resorted to the use of chemicals, and it's virtually all over. Ben, I tell you, you visit your rural areas and you see farming. People buy these chemicals and then in bulk and then go and use them. Now there are people who even complain that because of the usage of the chemicals, the weedicides, and the rest of them, we have lost some of the things that we get from the bush. For instance, you hardly come across snails now if you go to the bush. Growing up as a little boy in my father's village, as soon as it drizzles like that, just give yourself a few hours and you go to the bush. You'll be able to fetch a lot of snails and then you sell them, you use them. Today, it's a different story. You can't have any. And we used to also have mushrooms around, especially in March and April when the sunshine is very, intense. You are able to get a lot of mushrooms. Today, the story is no. You can't find any. So I am worried because now you see youth who are in the rural areas. They have abandoned the weeding and all that. They are using pesticide, weedicide a lot in agricultural practices. So I will urge the public health department to intensify the education on this and then get into the rural areas because Ministry of Agri have data on all the rural areas, their settings and the groups that work so that we intensify education on this and save our people. Because I tell you, now the use of weedicide is common in almost all the rural areas. I tell you, you can send your reporters to go around and they will bear me out. So this is what I'll say for now.
Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on these matters. Let's also get to some of the other issues. But before we go to myjoyonline.com, two crucial issues I want us to look at. We'll be discussing them in the course of the show. One has to do with the Minority Caucus in Parliament saying that, listen, some of you are ministers designate. You are not a minister yet. So stop holding yourself out as a minister because you are not there yet. You've not received parliamentary approval from the vetting committee. And that has to do with Dr. Okoboy holding himself up in some way as that. I just want to know what your take is on that. And then as we also look at other thoughts, do you have a brief take on that before we move on?
Yes. I think I saw the press release. It's unfortunate because why would people want to go into that? This is a position you have been nominated for which reason you have gone for vetting and you are left to be approved by the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. If you have not concluded the process, why do you want to hold yourself in that respect? I think they know that this practice is wrong, so they should shy away from it because it has consequence. If you continue on this trajectory, it can undermine your chances of becoming a minister and the rest of them.
Okay.
I'm sure they don't want to go ahead of Parliament. They have to stay. Once you have nominated, just give yourself time. When all is said and done, Parliament will reconvene and then take a decision and then make you a minister or not. Let them remember that it is not even automatic after you've gone through what Parliament, and they are members of Parliament, they know what I'm talking about.
Right.
The chances are that you can be approved or you can not be approved. So they should take that thing into consideration.
They should be measured.
Stay within the rules of the game.
Right. We'll have more time to deliberate on that conversation. So let's hold our horses for now. But let's get to myjoyonline.com now and look at some of the stories there. It's not the most major story. It's not the top headline, but I'll get to the top headline, which has to do with the shooting of a military officer. But first, NPP retains a Jisu seat as Kwabena Boateng polls 55.8%, turnout 49.1%. The turnout was less than 50%, but in the end, Kwabena Boateng, the lawyer, garnered 27,782 votes, accounting for 55.79%. And then Kwabena Owusu Aduomi, also polled 21,536 of the votes. That amounted to 43.24%. Now, there were some. I listened to Nana B of the MPP, national organizer, yesterday saying that global info analytics surveys have always been a certain way. I like fairness. And while I was listening to him interact with Evans, Winston, and Raymond, I was thinking, do you bastardize for the sake of bastardization? The man came into the studio, interacted with me, and said that their study had a margin of error of 3.4. The gap between the two candidates was 3.1%, and that it could swing either way, positively or negatively. If you look at the figures, the difference of about 6,000 votes, it feeds into that. It makes sense. It's logical. Then you look at the fact that at the last outing, when the MPP went there, I mean, you know that usually they would score over 80% of the votes. Over 80%. Now you look at what in this poll, Kwabena Boateng garnered, 55.79. And someone from another end, whether you are adding disgruntled MPP members to NDC members, because the NDC the last time I think polled about, is it 14 or 17%. So it still tells you that there are people from one side who shifted to the other side. He gets 43%. I don't know what your take is. You can also rope in the bit about vote buying, the accusations, and what we aired yesterday.
Yeah, I think, Ben, thanks for the opportunity. I really followed the Aiso by-election with keen interest, right, because that was going to be the precursor for 2024, December 7th. And more so when NPP has promised that they want to break the 8, they will make sure that they leave no stone unturned. So I was monitoring. And you and I know the effect of the whole process relative to the rest of the regions if MPP is to maintain themselves in office. The issue about, damning the results and criticizing the results, the little that I know is that for scientific analysis, there are always margins within which one operates. So if you operate within a certain margin, the margin of error, and all the standard deviation and all that, you are able to follow that, then you are within bounds. So if you have not been apprised with that information the person has, and for which reason you have scrutinized it and you realize that they deviate from the whole process, then you should be careful when you are talking about the issue. But that is not to say that when anybody undertakes a research, you cannot look at it and then also criticize it or bring your views to bear on the matter. But that is a little that I can say about that. What I saw in the Aiso, or I gleaned from the whole process, was that yes, the election went on smoothly, with the exception of that incident that happened in one of the polling stations, where
I think that is Semenfua also.
Yes, Semenfua. Yes, that point. But apart from that, the election went on freely, fair, and then it was, a non-incident election. For me, it tells you that about 99% of the process was in line with the rules of the game, and I love that. I commend the people of Aiso and all that. I also love the fact that, in spite of what happened, the Electoral Commission was quick to respond to the issue and then got the officers out and then assured us that investigation will go on. And quickly, within a few minutes, they came out that, yes, they've been able to do preliminary investigation and this is what they found. And then they pass on the matter to the police to take up. Right, that was reassuring. It gives confidence to the people, and then it allowed the process to flow in its natural course. In election, anything of the sort, if care is not taken, it can bring the whole process to a halt. And I commend the election management body, which is the Electoral Commission in our case, for the quick response and then the professionalism under which they handle the whole thing. So quickly, we did not have the consequence on the results because it could undermine the whole results where people said, look, I'm not going to accept the results. And for that matter, I believe that this is what should have happened and the rest of them. We need this election so quickly so as to continue the business of Parliament because it has serious implication in the work that the Parliament does. If the issue was the fact that Ediome won the election, the story would have been different today in Parliament because then MPP will be struggling to maintain themselves in Parliament in terms of voting and the rest of them. Right, but looking at all that happened, I will look at it from the perspective of what the incident. It is unfortunate.
But if I may just add this before you go on and wrap on that point. You said that was one incident and that then it meant that 99% of the process was
I'll go into other one.
I just wanted to make this point that while I agree with you, I differ in a certain way because we had heard of commentary from other places as well. Now, the point to be made is that this was the one our cameras captured. We are the only entity that was able to, and it was even fortuitous. It was out of luck that maybe attention wasn't being paid, and this was caught on camera because our man was on the beat doing his work, and this happened in the background. So it was fortuitous. It was a chance event that this appeared, and then attention was paid to it. But this is what our cameras captured. How about what maybe our cameras didn't capture? That is food for thought. But please go ahead.
Yeah, Ben, I agree with you. That is why I try to disaggregate it, and then it's going to be part of my other submission. Right? You are right. What I was bringing to the fore was that look, the evidence is what you captured. The one you did not capture, you can't hold on to it so much in the sense that people will tell you produce the evidence, and you and I cannot have the evidence to back it. So on that score, you have to treat it differently. And that is why I'm putting it in a different bracket. The different bracket is that what did I glean from the whole process? The whole process, I saw one thing that was clear, that the voter turnout was very low. This has characterized by elections in this country. So it is not news. But one would have thought that giving the dynamics in Parliament, giving the hot nature of this contest, and then giving the MPP's interest in this matter, one would have thought that they will be able to whip voter support in order to get the numbers. But hey, we saw apathy. I was following people, the commentary on that, and there were a number of people, initially they were not ready to go and cast their vote and all that. It was later in the day that effort were made for them to they made the effort to go and then express themselves in voting. If you look at this, there is something that I need to talk about, and is that the parties, especially the MPP, must be careful about this, because this is their stronghold. MPP need Ashanti region votes so much that if they really want to stay in power, they need to go beyond the 70% threshold. Once they do that, then they are in comfortable lead. Any drop in this figures is likely to undermine their chances. For NDC, all that they are looking forward to in Ashanti region is to get in the range of 27 to 30%. Then they are also home and dry. So I'm not sure.
I thought it was 20% plus.
Yeah, no, it's 27 to 30% for NDC, and then 70% and beyond for MPP. All right, because if you look at the upper score, upper limit and lower limits, you realize that the MPP has always been operating between 70 and then 75. Sometimes they go into 80%, and that is their upper limits. And these people have the lower limits of 27 or 30%. Our research shows in that direction. So they have to be very careful so that they don't lose the people in terms of the numbers that they need to gain from that constituency or from the whole Ashanti region. It is so important. And I've told you, remember, that one of the things, if it should happen in this election and it's going to affect heavily or against the NPP, is the fact that they can have apathy in election, and it has started showing. They need to work on that, because on the day of election, if you don't get the numbers coming to vote for you, you are hot, and it's clearly showing that. For Ashanti politics, for politics in Ashanti region, is that look, they know what they want. So at each point in time, they will vote MPP by hook or by crook. But if they have reservations or they are dissatisfied about certain things going on, what they always resort to is not to go and vote. But remember that in politics, if you have your support base who are not ready to vote for you, indirectly they voted against you, because you expect 20 people, for instance, to go and vote for you, and only 10 show up. It means that the 10 have voted against you. Your number has dwindled, and you are going to share the same votes with your opponent, and that will reduce your chances of becoming a leader in that area. I also saw the issue of inducement, all right? And what we saw, the unfortunate incident of the envelope. Yes, I said that, look, it's unfortunate. Unfortunate in the sense that for Ashanti region, all things being equal, MPP was going to carry the day because of factors such as the dominant party model, or what we call strategic voting. In Parkinson, when we say strategic voting, all right, there are three variants. One of it is protest vote, and the rest of them. When you are not faced with protest votes, you are cool. You can save yourself. But the dominant party model, we are saying that people vote based on the party tradition. Any other issue like messages fall on deaf ears. So they are going to retain you anyway. So if Ashanti is going to vote that way, particularly in Aiso, obviously you will be home and dry. So why would you want to go and then do a thing like this, that even the intention may not be to influence anybody, but you know that it is wrong. You cannot, any action that you do within where the action was going on, that is the counting, the process, the electoral commission process is going on, will raise an eyebrow. And once it raises an eyebrow, obviously it's going to undermine the credibility of the election. People will pounce at you, people will criticize you, and then people will even rubbish the whole process. So you will not good, more so when you are MP. It's my good friend, and it's unfortunate that it happened this way. There's so much unfortunate that we had that incident because, look, if you did your calculation very well, all things because of what the fact that that is your stronghold. All things being equal, when you do your homework very well, you should be home and dry. So if you go on this route, then it creates a problem. But the good news is that it's being investigated. We will see the outcome. But it brings to the attention of what issue of inducement. This is what we saw. But as you rightly pointed out, there are others we did not. And this has been our problem in this country. And you and I will agree that our people have been hypocritical in this direction. Anytime issue of inducement, issue of intimidation, harassment, and all that, especially inducement, when it comes to the fore, they rubbish it. Nobody has induced anybody, produce the evidence and all that. But you see, we are playing ostrich in this because it is when it bites people so hard, then they come to the public that this man pays so much. I was able to pay a very little another, as if that the two crimes are one is what a crime and one is not. The two are. It doesn't matter the amount of money that you give to influence, that amount to corruption. And these things are, things that the state frowns upon. So we have to be very careful if you really want to save this democracy and make sure that convince people with your work, your record, your message, and then the rest of them. But issue of what inducement and all that, we tend to get people who represent people in constituencies, and they are not the true representatives of what the people.
Right.
Why? Because you bought their choice. You influence them with what money and whatnot. And that is why sometimes we suffer in terms of what quality of legislation and all that, because the people that will eventually emerge from these people, from these processes, are not necessarily the people that we want them to represent us in Parliament and then, undertake the exercise for us. Of course, it's not everybody. There are some constituencies where people take these things seriously and then they make sure that they get the right people in Parliament to serve our interests.
Right.
And above all, the third thing that I saw was the issue of what? The total votes. If you look at the fact that the lawyer won, which obviously was going to happen anyway. But if you look at the performance of, the independent candidate, it was so amazing. 21,536 against what? 27,782. It tells you that the guy has his footprints in the place. He's a force to reckon with. Me, as a political scientist and a political communication scholar, if you ask me for any strategy, I'll put this guy up as what? An independent candidate, so as to go and disturb the process and then reduce the MPP numbers. And then the other parties, they will not necessarily win, but they will have a chunk. And remember that any numbers that go up in the area of NDC, they are what? Making up to what? Be winning the elections. Any drop in the fortunes of NPP in Ashanti region is going to undermine their own process. So if the other small parties really want to make impression, especially the Afafanto movement and all the allied groups, if they really want to make a show in the free consultancy, put this guy there as an independent candidate and let them reduce the votes of MPP. And then you are home and dry. This is one of the strategies. But the MPP will also have to stay afloat by making sure that you saw constituency-specific issues coming up. Issue of what? Infrastructure development, roads and all that. So they need to double up if they really also want to stay afloat. Double out their effort in development and making sure that all the problems that the people have, they're able to fix them and they will also be home and dry.
Right. I will not take any further responses on this. Just a few thoughts I will share. Hobson Adoye was sort of the face of his campaign yesterday. Eduomi, Kwabno Usu Eduomi's campaign. There have been talks about Afafrantor or now the Alliance for Revolutionary Change and I think when Stephen Aiso and team, the chairman of the NPP, spoke, he said he wasn't happy with the fact that Eduomi had left. And that was politically right, okay? Because if the prayer should be that Eduomi doesn't contest in the main election, because that is definitely going to lead to some bloodletting for the MPP when it comes to votes. But three quick thoughts. Doc, if we continue on this one, we are both political animals, so let's leave it there. I feel it's a Pyrrhic victory Pyrrhic victory in the sense that you've won, but there are so many losses, casualties as well. What was the cost of winning? Then 2, hypocrisy sometimes. When Nana B, national organizer of the MPP, was called by my colleague Evans, oh, had he seen the video and all of that? Oh, let's focus on the win of Kwabena Boateng. Have you seen the video? If it had been from the other end, he would have seen the video. But as far as it is his party, he will not see the video. And vice versa. If it were the NDC, they would do, oh, we've not seen. I mean, we sit here and we know these things. We have to get beyond that hypocrisy. And there was footage of some people claiming they had received money and brandishing the money, at least some that I saw. So different dynamics. I don't know how our politics will be healed, but only time will tell. But let's take a quick look at this story, then do maybe another one from the international front, and we go. Military officer shot dead over land dispute at Kaswa. That is also on myjoyonline.com. A military officer has been shot dead, while 2 others narrowly escaped with their lives on Tuesday, April 30th, during a dispute over land at Millennium City, a community at Kaswa in the central region. The incident occurred when the deceased and his companions confronted individuals working on the land they claim was theirs. Now, the disagreement escalated when attempts to settle the matter at the Millennium City District Police Command proved futile. According to Winnebo Ndego, who facilitated the land transaction, the military officers had purchased the land but faced opposition from a group led by an individual named Fifi when they attempted to develop it. To cut a long story short, this military officer was shot and lost his life as a result of that. And we are hearing more and more of these incidents. Quick reactions to that?
It is unfortunate. It is very, very unfortunate. And it's becoming a feature in this country that you purchase a land and just give yourself a few time, and when you visit there, you run away. I am saddled in such situation. I bought a land near a violation near Dodoa and all that. One day I visited the place and somebody was wielding pistol. I was very smart. I parked my car not close to the land, and he came and asked me, do you have any facility here or any property here? And I said, yes, I have, but not in this vicinity. I'm going far away, but I have to wait for somebody here. He said, then count yourself lucky. If it is here that you are coming, you would have seen action. Can you imagine that? I was there alone, but I was too smart to outwit him, and then I came back. Meanwhile, I was standing on my own land that I bought, and I could not claim ownership to it. It's gradually becoming a problem in this country, and that is why we must do something about it. The World Bank introduced a program about land administration policy, the LAB project. You recall?
Right.
I don't know how far we went with this. I think Professor Kwame Jam can be the best person to speak to us about how these things will be able to help address the issue. It's gradually becoming a problem. You buy a parcel of land, you go to the right source, you get them, you get all the documentation. Another point in time, you go there, you are denied. And what do you do? What do you do? People will tell you, I don't know whether you have listened to this before or you've heard this before. They will tell you that, oh, that's how it is. You have to struggle before you are able to develop your own property. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen at all.
Right.
And I am happy that the state has come out with laws regulating this. They need to move ahead by enforcing this issue of land guards and all that is still a threat to our survival.
Let's just do this. And so Graphic Online, the usual stories, a Aiso by-election, Kwabena Boateng secures victory. MPP's Kwabena Boateng takes early lead. Purported bribe was for lunch. You see on viral Aiso by-election video. And there are other stories there as well. Narcotics Control Commission seizes 20.5 kilograms of cannabis in busts across 3 days. There's also military prison officers for car in Boku will not recur. That's according to the regional minister. So those are some thoughts from there. Let's see whether we can just wrap with some stories from the BBC and then it's a go. There's also BBC New York police arrest dozens as protesters cleared from Columbia campus. Trump trial shows expletive-laden text on Daniel's deal. Beijing tightens grip on China social media giants. And scientists work to make healthier widespread. All those stories there. Parting shots, Doc, in about 30 seconds and we're gone.
Yes, I'll touch on the bribe for lunch. Looking at the whole story, we won't go into that. But what we'll look at is the fact that there's a need for us to develop a code of conduct for the electoral process. Areas we should stay away when we're voting. The things that we should not do whilst in that place. If you listen to stories, sometimes some of the chiefs will even want to invite the electoral officers to come to the palace and make sure that they get them follow through the process in order to vote. But officers have been strong and said, Nana, I'll be glad if you could come to the polling station and vote yourself. We'll give you opportunity to vote first and all that. Why would the way we allow our leaders, some of them, the vulnerable, to vote early and all that, it's a good thing. But we need to streamline it, put it on paper, educate people along these lines so that in certain perimeter, you are not there, you don't go there, whether you are MP or you are whatever. All these things must be looked at and then dealt with.
Okay.
If we're able to do it, it's going to support us and it's going to help us in the electoral process.
Thank you, Doc, for joining the conversation. As always, you'll be back with us, but we're grateful for this time. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Now, before we get into sports, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment, as always. If you're a man, they're offering you prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra, at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa, and Esiama Enzima. If you'd like to call them, you can reach them on 0244 867 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Sports is up next. Do stay.
Now, Oba say Yabun. I'm saying we are in a boss. Me go for the Yajuma, now me call. I go there, go one Ben Road, only Fifi, and then some Langasby by. You do more for I'm to say. Sugar for now, sugar for people on the minimum. Them who are no, what them say. Omo boss again, Omo Miansa, Omo Bakutu. With him. And them sister.
So that is the situation on the ground, and we're joined by our Adom correspondent, Kofi Ejay, who actually has the scoop on this development. Kofi, good morning. Hello, Kofi, can you hear me?
I can hear you all.
Thank you so much for joining us. We've put out that story, but we'd like to find out, walk us through what exactly happened in respect of the shooting of this military officer.
What happened was that there's a land litigation between the suspect, the landlord, and one Indego, the one who just spoke to us. So they've been having issues on the land for some time now. So anytime both of them meet on the ground, it became different things. So according to information yesterday, the Indego brought police officers to the site because the other party were working on the land. I think the land is just to be one plot. So both of them is owning half of the land. So, but both of them doesn't want anybody to take the land. So when they were working, Indego brought police, but police couldn't sustain, or police couldn't, address the issue. So after some minutes, after some hours, these military officers, they were 3 in numbers, with a Toyota RAV4 car, vehicle 4x4. They also came to the scene and wanted to stop the project, to stop the work. But after they arrived at the scene, they saw that the boys were there. Some guys were there in their numbers. They couldn't, try to stop the project. So they decided to go to police station to lodge a formal complaint. So when they left the police station at the Millennium City District Police Command, these guys also followed up to the police station. So the suspect who has been arrested now according to information, when they reached the police station, he pulled out a pistol. I don't know what happened, but he pulled out a pistol and started firing the Toyota RAV4 car, which led to the death of the military officer.
I see. And I mean, those people involved, as far as this is concerned, have there been, I know the security services are already on the beat, but what's the latest you can report on that?
Currently, the Central Regional Police Command has arrested the suspect because the incident happened in front of Millennium City District Police Command. The shooting incident happened in front of police station. So they were able to arrest him. The body has been conveyed by military police yesterday night around 12 a.m. Military police from headquarters came and conveyed the body to 37 military hospital. So I'm on my way to the scene and to ascertain whether there's a new development.
I see. Do you have, and the police, what have they communicated on that though?
You see, now police doesn't speak to the media, so they are saying that they are doing investigation because the Indigo has mentioned a lot of people's names, so they are doing investigation and see if they can arrest those suspects.
Have you been able to interact with any members of the family of the deceased or anyone close to him, apart from Mr. Ndego, who says he facilitated the transaction?
The military officer is not residing in Kaswa. They came all the way from Accra.
Right.
So it was very difficult for me to find their family members.
And anything else you'd like to add on this before we let go of you, Kofi Ajay?
What I can say is that I think the security officers is supposed to, beef up security here because this is the first time. I think about 10 years ago, there's a similar incident happened. A military officer shot a civilian on the same area, the same Millennium City. So they've been having issues on the land for the past 10 years. Day in, day out, they've been having issues on that parcel of land, that area. So I think the security officers should be supposed to be proactive and find lasting solutions.
But maybe my final bit to you, how concerned are the people in the neighborhood? Have they been, taken over by fear? What was their reaction? Did you find out?
Yeah, everybody was shocked because the location was not good because it happens in front of police station. And if somebody can trace or can see somebody and shoot him in front of police station, what else about those people who are in our homes? People are living in fear and panic. They are even shocked because I don't know. Because looking at where the incident happened, everybody is even shocked.
Wow. Of course, this happening right in front of a police station is going to be problematic.
Police command because the officers were in the police station while one of the officers was in the car in front of the police station. So what saved the remaining two was that they were inside the police station while the other one in front of the police station inside the car.
Well, Kofi Ajay, we are grateful for your time sharing your thoughts, at least what you know about this event. Really sad development with that military official, losing his life at Millennium City. And he says about 10 years ago, there was a similar incident. Now we're faced with this. Even more worrying, it was right within the precincts of the police command in that community. But stay with us. Today is May Day, Workers' Day, Labor Day, variously celebrated under those different banners. We take a brief break. When we return, we'll continue with that conversation from some segments of labor, finding out what the status of workers is in Ghana on the economic front and on many other fronts. We'll be right back. Stay. Happy Workers' Day! I hope you're enjoying yourself at home, enjoying the holiday. Or maybe you say, Charlie, because of the way things are, you are out there working, though it's a holiday. Well, for us, we don't have options. We come and do what we do because we love you. But let's celebrate this day and also pay attention to the crucial issues surrounding working in Ghana. And I saw something today. I do not know how factual it may be. I've heard people say in the past that if you are earning anything less than 10,000, you can't make it in this economy. Some say if you're earning about 5,000, you are in the top bracket of earners in Ghana. And that in itself gives me food for thought, because 5,000 cedis is about what? It's way less than $1,000, right? I mean, how much is that? It's even less than $500. Come to think of it, it's less than $500. It's about $300 and something, which in other jurisdictions is literally chicken change. You would look at purchasing power parity, yes, but what is the state of the Ghanaian worker? Joining us, we have Michael Nyantakyi. He is General Secretary of the Public Utilities Workers Union, PU, as they are popularly called. Before we get to him, though, let's check out this little short video on Workers' Day.
The development is that, one, we will not allow our Tier 2 pensions to be in arrears because it affects the retirement of our members. So there was a commitment to pay. The details are being worked out, but there's a commitment to pay, and we want a written document on that. And also there is also a program of paying up the arrears of the dues, and also the lump sum that SNIT is supposed to pay beneficiaries have also been decided on, and that payment ought to be done. So we can say that there is progress being made on the issues that led to the threat for to embark on industrial actions. Whatever proposal they have, they are supposed to present it to Labour, for Labour to sit with its technical committee and look through it before we signed that document, which I think by the close of Thursday, those documents are supposed to come to us.
So some thoughts from Labour, especially as we've been contemplating the SNIT issue, should we increase above 18% in terms of contributions and all that. But joining us for the conversation, we have Michael Nyantakyi. We have a host of guests, starting with Michael Nyantakyi, General Secretary, Public Utilities Workers Union. Mr. Nyantakyi, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning to your cherished listeners.
All right, thank you so much for joining the conversation. We also have Charles Nyaba, former Executive Director, Peasant Farmers Association. Good morning, sir. Mr. Nyaba, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning.
All right, thank you so much for joining the conversation. But let me start with Mr. Nyantakyi, Public Utilities Workers Union. If I asked you the simple question, what is the state of your workers? How are you getting by? How are you faring? It's Workers' Day. How celebrant or how much of a celebration is it for you? What would you say?
Well, once again, thank you for the opportunity. And let me use your platform to extend our appreciation to all workers, especially members of PU and of the TUC family. Yes, straight to your question, how much a celebration it is today. I think it's a day that workers all over the world we cannot ignore because of the history surrounding this day. Much as we commemorate the day for the efforts that workers are putting in our situation in Ghana here, I think there is not much for us to celebrate today because the living conditions that we are in, the compensation or remuneration for workers vis-a-vis the cost of living in our country today, there is virtually nothing to celebrate. But the fact that we still have the opportunity to be at work to contribute towards the national development, we know the remuneration is not commensurate, but we still are doing the best that we can, and we hope the leadership of our nation will put in place mechanisms to make the efforts and the struggles of the ordinary worker worthwhile. We are hoping and trusting that things will improve and our economy will make an upward turn so that workers can have some relief. Now I can say without any fear of excavation that Ghanaian workers all over are really going through a tough time. And taxes and the cost of living and everything is making our sacrifices very daunting.
I don't know about, how strong is your membership? How many are you?
Well, we have about 14 to 15,000 membership.
I see. And what you're telling me is reflective of, by and large, your membership in terms of salaries. I don't know, you've not spoken about power challenges and all of that, but it's reflective of the state of affairs, right?
Yeah, the power situation, everything so good to affect not only our members, but virtually every Ghanaian. And these are issues that we expect that those who are in charge of the economy will really address all the fundamentals to ensure that some relief are brought to the ordinary Ghanaians, because nobody can see that the time that we are in is a mood for celebration. But we cannot also live in despair and then say that because of that we are not working and also showing the pride that we have as workers. Much as times are tough, we also believe that we still have a cause to be hopeful as we are playing our part. We expect the leadership at all levels to also make the necessary sacrifices to ensure that our economy is put on a better foot, and then the various organizations are also made to run in a manner that will help the progress and development of this nation.
You're right. When the times get tough, the tough get going. But there's a question that I want to run by each one of you. I'll just, in some 30 seconds, give me an answer. The proposal that SNIT contributions may go above 18% as a union, what do you think about that?
Well, I think there is a serious need to look at this whole SNIT and social security. Yes, pensions is a crucial factor and one of the pillars of decent work. And we believe that our SNIT as an institution is an area that a lot of reforms need to be looked at.
Okay.
We think over the years, SNIT has not really been allowed to play the pivotal role that it's supposed to play and provide decent pension for workers. I'm sure a lot of pensioners will agree with me what they are getting from SNIT. And now the situation is even being made worse in the situation where employers and government are not contributing.
Right, Mr. Nyantechi, I get the point, but I just want you to go straight to the jugular. Are you in agreement? Do you think an increment will do anything to help? That's all.
No, I don't believe that. There is a need for proper management of the funds that goes to SNIT.
Okay, all right. Mr. Nyantechi, thank you very much for your thoughts on that. Let's bring in Charles Nyaba, former Executive Director, Peasant Farmers Association. Mr. Nyaba, good morning once more.
Good morning. Let me say good morning to yourself, your team, and then to also wish all farmers over the country a happy Workers' Day celebration.
All right. For you, the state of the peasant farmer, the state of the ordinary worker, what do you see? And then I'll come to you on the same SNIT question. What are your thoughts on these matters?
Yeah, so I think I agree with Mr. Nyantechi on all the points he raised. But in our context, I think our situation is even worse. I say this because if you look at the Ghanaian farmer, whilst we are crying of inflation in all commodities that we purchase in the market, our produce, the prices either remain the same or even lower than the previous year. We produce at a cost. If there's any government support in terms of increase in salaries, increase in remuneration for workers, farmers are not considered as workers in this country. Whilst other workers have weekends to relax, our farmers continue to be on the farm. Even though today is a holiday, we have teachers, nurses, and all categories of formal sector workers being relaxed, our farmers are still on the farm. This year, majority of farmers have to stop farming because what they got last year, they could not even sell. Apart from the fact that prices were lower than the cost of production and lower than previous year's prices, even the market itself is not there. We made several calls for government to intervene by providing guarantee markets for them to be able to just maintain their livelihood. That has never happened. So for us, we think that our situation is not good at all. Previously, when government used subsidized input in support of farmers, that support has been taken out. All budget allocations to the agriculture sector doesn't reach the farmer. Apart from the government handling of the farmers itself, even the other factors such as climate change. Previous years by now, farmers would have been planting all over. As we speak, there are no rains. Even in the middle belt that by now plants would have been at the waist level, no farmer has planted. Those who planted with the first rain, the rains haven't come. So in fact, we don't know our fate, and as a farmer who is also a worker, I think our situation is getting worse by the as days goes on.
Now, but is there something, at least something, to celebrate as far as the peasant farmer or the Ghanaian worker is concerned?
Yeah, of course, there is. In years past, when you talk of peasant farmer, people are talking about subsistence farming. People are talking of farmers who are just farming to feed their families. Today, the narrative is different. Farmers are now commercial. No matter scale of their production, they are looking at producing to feed their families, and then also to have savings for their future, and also to invest in other areas. Last 2 days ago, our farmers themselves came together that it is about time they take their own destiny into their own hands by organizing what we call Peasant Farmers Day, by awarding ourselves, launching our own pension scheme. I wanted to come there because the government have never paid attention to informal sector worker when it comes to pension scheme. So we have launched our own pension scheme. We have also launched what we call Farmers Cooperative Credit Union. So we have actually taken a step further from how we see farmers some years ago. And we think that if you go in this angle, it will get a time farmers will be self-sustained and we might not continue to depend on government.
All right, and right before we try to get Jacob Anadaba, just a few thoughts, if you may, on the SNIT issue and likely contribution increments. I heard Angel Kabonu of the National Association of Graduate Teachers saying SNIT wasn't even managing what we were giving it well. What difference would it make if we added more? Are you of the same opinion? Do you think we should do more to earn more?
Yeah, to me, even though we have some of our members who are also SNIT beneficiaries, but I always keep asking questions. What is the essence of contributing to your pension? And then at pension, what you receive is not enough to even cater for your basic needs for a year. I tell you, I have confessions from majority of members who went on pension and they're taking no less than 15,000 Ghana cedis. Others are taking 10,000 Ghana cedis. Okay? Yes, we see a lot of investment from SNIT. We have SNIT hotels, we have SNIT everywhere. As a contributor, you go there, you are still compared to pay the same amount as any other person. And when you see those who are working in SNIT, they're living a luxurious life from our term. So I agree with Nyateki that our focus should be efficient management of the funds that we contribute to SNIT rather than increasing contributions. And if there should be contribution at all, it should be the government contribution to the employee.
All right.
Not from the employee.
Not anymore from the employer. All right. All right.
No. So
okay.
we think that the employer should rather contribute more, not the employee.
All right. Thank you.
So already we are overburdened with a lot of taxes, a lot of burden, And the meager salary is not taking us anywhere.
Right. Point made. Thank you very much, Charles Nyaba, for joining the conversation. We are very grateful for your time this morning. Former Executive Director, Peasant Farmers Association. Let me also usher in Jacob Anaba. He is Vice President of NAGRAT. Mr. Anaba, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I am well. I don't know whether
Congratulations on this day, being a worker of Ghana.
Right. And congratulations to you, too. God knows the dynamics could be better, but we thank God for where he's brought us. Today, what is worth celebrating? So I'm just going to put all the questions together in some 2 minutes. Give us your thoughts. What do we celebrate today? From your standpoint, what is the state of the Ghanaian worker?
For the Ghanaian worker, there's nothing to celebrate about. What we can celebrate is the fruit of our labor. We as teachers, when we see our students thriving and doing well wherever they find themselves, then we are happy to celebrate. Because we know we are contributing to the development of our country, and we are hoping for the best. But the situation of the Ghanaian worker is nothing to write home about. You cannot save, you cannot plan for your future, and when we expect SNIT to tell us good story, good news, they are breaking our hearts. So the Ghanaian worker cannot celebrate about anything as we speak today.
So you're saying that there's not even one thing that you are happy about as a Ghanaian worker? Or should we go back to that saying, I believe from the Kufuor era, workers pretend to work and government also pretends to pay
In
workers.
fact, the Ghanaian worker is working very hard, but the government is not paying us what is due us. If you recall, just recently, we teachers have been calling for some allowances. The government is not ready to give us even one. So, and still, the teacher is still in the classroom working very hard. So we are doing our best, but government is not doing his best.
I see. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Anaba, for having joined the conversation. We're very grateful for the time.
Thank you, Bernard. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. And that is Jacob Anaba, Vice President of NAGRAT. So we've spoken to Michael Nyantechi, General Secretary, Public Utilities Workers Union, Charles Nyaba, former Executive Director, Peasant Farmers Association, and Jacob Anaba, Vice President of NAGRAT. We'll quickly segue into our next conversation, and we're going to be having an interaction on the Aiso situation. Let's leave it at that. We already know what has happened. 27,000 plus votes for lawyer Kwabena Boateng, some 21,000 plus votes for the main contender, the independent candidate, Mr. Duomi, and then everything in between in terms of the allegations of vote buying, the Kwadaso Member of Parliament, the legislators issue, and all of that. We're going to be discussing that now with our guests joining the conversation. We have Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante back. He is a political scientist. He is also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, welcome back.
Thank you, Ben.
And
good morning to. Hello, Ben.
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning once again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you so much for joining, especially
and
as we know.
And good morning to Dr. Osai Kwapong.
Oh yes.
Good morning.
Dr. Osai Kwapong also joins the conversation. Doc, good morning. Dr. Kwapong, good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin.
All right. So let's get into this conversation. We're starting off with the Aiso situation. I'll just ask you a global question about what you saw, how you felt about the process from what you were able to gather, either on the ground or from the visuals that we brought you. I'll start with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
I think the whole process started well. In the build-up to the election, we saw the political actors actively participating in the process in terms of campaign, in terms of all that it was necessary for them to do. They did that. And then very close to the election and the day of the election, we saw the electoral process being adhered to. They were moving on and people were voting the way they ought to do. It went well, and we saw that it was peaceful. Aside the envelope story, we saw that all went well. And then we got to the finishing stage where the results were collated, peaceful, and then results declared with some of the supporters, even who were on your network, and I'm talking about this guy who was with the Apofanto movement, saying that yes, the results were free and fair. They accept defeat, and then they congratulate whoever emerged as winner. That's the spirit of democracy. That in democracy, when you go through election and everything plays out nicely, you need to accept defeat and abide by the rules of the game. This was very evident in the process. Then we'll come back to look at the envelope story, which unfortunately from my friend, it shouldn't have been done, even with all the intentions. If we say that, yes, it was meant to provide them with food and all that, the question is, do we need that? It's the rules of the game frowns upon that. So that is very unfortunate. But I also want to take the opportunity to commend the Electoral Commission. They were quick in taking a decision, got those involved out, and then replaced them with others who will come and look at the process and then continue. Because
but just right there, it raises a question. And like you said, I doff my hat to the Electoral Commission on that point. They were very swift, got those two out of the picture so that no one would say, oh, they were able to compromise anything. The voting process hadn't ended and all that. But that also feeds into the talk about these election or electoral agents and how sometimes people who are openly partisan are recruited. That is a huge topic for discussion. What do you make of it?
Yeah, that is a big one. But you see, you should have evidence to that effect that this and this person are highly political or partisan, for which reason they are not fit to be part of the process. I remember that when Electoral Commission announced or advertised for people to come over and be part of this process, those who went there, I'm sure they went through screening. All that we can say is that they need to up their game so that those one or two people do not slip through their fingers. But it's a human institution. You definitely have one or two slipping through your fingers and getting in there. But you should have another system that will counter and make sure that the people you have are nothing but the best. They are people who are not overly politicized, and then they are they have been affected in politics one way or the other. But that aside, you realize that EC was swift. They took a very decisive decision, and it worked. It didn't undermine the process. The process went on as if nothing had actually happened. They shepherded the process to its end and declared results and, declared the winner as winner of the election and all that. Those who lost saw that it was a genuine contest. The grounds were even, and they accepted defeat, and then they move on. That is the spirit of democracy, and that's what we want. So, so far, for the issue of the alleged bribery and all that, I am happy the EC moved another step by quickly, they did their preliminary investigation and then decided to give us information about what they have seen, and then they also passed the issue on to appropriate authority for further investigation. That's what rule of law is about. Hey, rule of law has two components: equality before the law and due process. That any decision that you take must be in consonance with the laws of the land. That is what due process. And then your actions should reflect the laws of the land. We saw that. So by and large, this is my initial comment I want to say about the process. I commend the people of Aiso, a good work done, because it's a real test case for Electoral Commission, and they managed to put all of us above water, and then we went home. We slept with our two eyes firmly closed.
Let me bring in Dr. Osai Kwapong. You're a CDD fellow, and from time to time you get into these matters together with Cordeo, among others. Dr. Kwapong, how did you find the electoral process yesterday? And since Dr. Asa Asante has already spoken about the Kwadaso legislators issue, it's sad because I know him personally, and I felt a bit sad that something like that had come up. But it is what it is. Whatever, the laws are clear on any such things. That shouldn't have been done. The EC then came and said the claim of its officers was that he had given it to them for lunch. And when we spoke to him, he said it was a favor. How did you find the process, and how did you find the explanations of the Kwadaso legislator, Professor Kingsley Nyako?
Thank you very much. So in terms of the process overall, everything went well, everything went smoothly, just like you said in your intro. And then there are all the other in-betweens. But generally, a peaceful election without any major incidents is what we all look forward to. So it was good that, Ejuso, in as hotly contested as it was, that in the end, everything was peaceful, a winner was declared. But when I saw the news of Honorable Kingsley, the first thing that came to my mind was I recalled a piece that Professor Kwesi Prempeh wrote way back in 2005 for CDD Ghana's Democracy Watch newsletter. And there he was looking at the whole Hotel Kufuor saga, as he called it. And after having read that piece, and every so often I go back to read it, I coined this phrase of the appearance test versus the legal test. And I think I've shared that with a few times on your show. So in explaining his action that, it was simply, have you had lunch? If you've not had lunch, here's something small for lunch, right? There's nothing wrong with asking someone if they're eating. And if you want to help buy them lunch, you've not quote unquote broken any law by, asking someone if they are hungry and if they want someone to eat. But the most important thing that I think sometimes our public officials tend to be a bit too oblivious about is the appearance test. And that for me is what tends to create a lot of the angst and a lot of the headaches for public officials. I mean, this is an election. These are electoral offices. I mean, think about all of the stories, sometimes some of the tensions that surround elections, some of the conversations we have around vote buying, the suspicions around electoral officers and the ability to, sometimes compromise them, etc., right? So you think of all of those things as the context, and then in the full glare of the public, even with the best of intentions in handing someone something like that to them, you can just imagine the ripple effect and what that does to reinforce some of these perceptions that we hold about our elections and the electoral process.
Okay, so Doc, hold it right there. I want you to do something for me. The same idea, but look at the body language of everybody in the picture, right? Like I said, this was fortuitous. It was by chance that we captured this. So who knows what may have happened in other instances. But even before that, so this was for lunch. Who else, which other electoral officer may have been given something for lunch? Was everyone else treated in the same way, or was it just this group? Now, Semenfua is a crucial polling area as far as the elections. I hear, from what I gather, Kwabena Owusu Eduomi won in that place. So you can understand why that place was crucial. But the body language, he comes through after having spoken to some others, comes through, the police officer is on another end, he comes through, there's a bit of looking here and there, then the interaction with the two officers, the lady is to the left, the gentleman to the right, and some suggest that when he was asking, he takes out the envelope and then this way and that. More like some say he's trying to, okay, so for the two of you or others, but none of them goes forward to take it. Some say you would see the gentleman tapping the table twice, maybe an indication that drop it on the table. And then he turns around, looks left, right, and all of that. What picture does that body language paint to you? Premeditated? Or maybe we're making a mountain out of a molehill?
I don't think you're making a mountain out of a molehill because, again, these appearances matter. And it goes a long way to have potentially negative consequences, for our faith in the electoral process. The last thing you want to do, no matter how well intentioned, is any sign that the electoral process can be compromised, but by no other than a person such as a member of parliament. And you're correct. I mean, if you want to really read into the body language, leave it on the table kind of a thing, you start wondering, was the member of parliament sort of conscious of perhaps maybe I shouldn't be doing this and therefore I'm trying to find a discreet way to do it, etc., etc. But having said all of that, for me, the last thing you want is to create the impression that elections can be compromised. And whilst, whilst this may have been, I did quote unquote nothing wrong, I just wanted to buy someone lunch. But think about all of the other things the implications of this. And kudos to the EC for swiftly removing those electoral, officers. At least it helped also, quell any further agitations that, now that they've taken that quote unquote lunch money, then it makes it easy for them to be vulnerable to doing whatever, quote unquote, it was intended for them to do or not to do.
All right.
So for me, I found it to be one of this the main sore spot yesterday.
I felt sad about it because Prof has been on my show a number of times. He's actually someone I like, so I felt it was a bit problematic, especially with how he is considered as an academic and all of that. I felt a bit worried and sad. But before I go back to Dr. Asah-Asante, coming back to you, Dr. Osai Kwapong, just a quick one. There is also this issue when these things happen. I think the EIU and other institutions abroad, research agencies, have spoken about the cost of politics and how corruption is endemic in our system, right? Then when these issues come up from whatever party, you will see some sort of subtle or overt defense. Here's what I mean. Yesterday, this video was everywhere. Everywhere. Social media, mainstream media. People were already publishing stories on it. But guess what? When the national organizer of the MPP was concerned, and I'm not saying that it is impossible that he may not have seen it, but he was questioned, and the claim was that we had to focus on the electoral results, and that for him, he had not seen that video. He had not seen any such video. He had just, I think, heard some commentary on it. I felt that was a bit, because this is usually the style. I've not seen the video. And then the political class, do you feel they are willing to stem the tide of this problem?
I don't think so. Or perhaps they don't view it as a big deal vis-a-vis other quote-unquote bigger issues or bigger headaches that
because if it had been an election with the NDC involved and that had happened with someone in the NDC, I bet you he would have seen that video.
Precisely, right? But if you think about the posture that sometimes is adopted by the political class, it feels as though what matters is, well, at the end of the day, we had a peaceful, successful election anyway. So to use your phrase, all the things that happened in between, in as bad as some of it may have looked, in the end, what's the big deal? Nobody was quote unquote compromised. The electoral officers were removed. We had a peaceful election. We've elected an MP, and therefore, life must go on. We must move on. But it is those in-betweens that slowly chip away, at the things that we believe are critical and important to uphold about our democracy.
Right. Dr. Asah-Asante, now coming back to how to move this equation forward, some have suggested that our friend, now in some hot waters, I listened to him responding to my colleague yesterday, and some of the responses were not adding up for me. But let me extricate my own opinions. Some have said let the police deal with it. And this is for Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Others have said, let the OSP deal with it. For you, what's the bottom line in terms of resolving this matter? He's a member of parliament. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
Oh, obviously, there are institutions that are tasked with such responsibility, and each of them can undertake this exercise. The whole essence is that you want to make sure that you get to the bottom, and then you will share the information with the public, and then the public will know what happened, and whatever there is to do after that, the state will take a decision on that relative to the electoral processes and all that. This is not something that we want to create this time around. It's already exists. The institutions. In political science, when we say institutions, we are talking about the rules, the regulations, the norms, the procedures, and the laws. So when the institutions are working, you don't need too much of human interface in there, even though human beings drive this. The institutions must act the way they ought to do. And then from there, we as watchers of the political space, then we come back to work. Then it means that there is something more that we can do. What I learned from all this is that CDD started a certain project where they were looking at some of these infractions and how they could develop something like a code of conduct to regulate the conduct of people relative to this. I think that Dr. Sankwapong and his team will want to revisit this thing so that they bring it to the fore, and then we'll look at it and see how we can strengthen the frontiers of the electoral process. That yes, when you are going for such program, this space, you are not supposed to go there. It doesn't matter whether you are the president of the land or whoever.
But Doc, they know that. They know that. They know full well that some of these things are not meant to be done, and not just the whatever actions, but the optics of it. They know this.
Yes. We need to sustain the advocacy, and then you bring it to sharp focus this time around, and then you allow the actors, i.e. the electoral officers and all that, things of this nature. Look, if you imagine the EC official had said that, no, this thing we don't accept. It could have changed the whole chemistry, all right? No, just a statement or just even a gesture that, you see a hand stopping it. So this, we need to continue to reinforce this so that we sanitize the whole process. Because for election, you need to be foolproof, and you need to have an enabling environment that is equal for all actors to be in there and act at the same time. Because anything that raises an eyebrow will obviously dent the image of the election and the process.
Right.
And we don't want to have stolen verdict, where we say that, well, you won, but it's a stolen verdict. You paid money, you did this, you bribed your way, and all that. So these are some of the things that we need to watch.
Right. A crucial issue. Some people have also posited, there is a class of people, the political class. Usually things can come up and you can almost forecast that nothing will happen because this is a key player. This is a big man or big woman. Now, this is a member of parliament. He is in the ruling administration. Some people say, yeah, we'll talk about it, and that, look at the OSP. What would you call the success rate in terms of dealing with these issues? I'll leave that to you. We all know. The Ghana Police Service, some will say, but they are part of the executive. We all know how it goes. So in the end, what are your expectations? Are you expectant anything will come of this?
I am expectant of a certain result that reflects the situation on the ground. That is what it ought to be. Otherwise, then we want to tell ourselves that we are in the state of nature, where we are in a chaotic situation. I'm not sure we are there, but it requires you and I to be vigilant. After all, it's the price of liberty, right? If there are ways of handling this, if the institutions will not act the way they ought to, we also can have a position. Our position is that, look, anybody found in a process that is compromised in a certain way, we will not allow the person to represent us. What about that? And who can legislate against that one? All the time, that last card that we have, the trump card, we don't play it to our advantage. We allow political considerations to overtake some of these beautiful actions that we can take to restore. Because if the electorate can what? Sanction people based on their conduct. I'm not sure anybody will venture into an enterprise of this nature if a situation arises like that. So I believe that reforms are necessary. What we don't have, we need to inject in new ideas. What we have, let's continue to educate people on it and strengthen the process, and then make sure. I suggested something in the last election. I think it's worth mentioning it here again. That why is it that we can't even have a body made up of neutrals who will watch the political space, and that any action that is considered a misnomer, an aberration, that person is flagged, is shamed, and then the party bears the consequence where we urge people to vote against that individual or the party. That is a way, our own way of making sure that we complement the effort of the institution, especially when institutions will realize that they would look unconcerned, they will stay aloof as far as the issues are concerned. It is a way of also prompting them to action. So I think it's a two-way thing. The institution should work. If they don't, we should also act in a certain way. But we can do the same thing along the same lines, at the same parallel length. And at the end of the day, we should be able to achieve the results that we want. Remember, this democracy, people have fought for it for a very long time. And thank God we're able to have it in 1992. We need to move heaven and earth to consolidate it. And these are some of the things that constitute reversals of democracy. I am a student of democracy, and I get worried when I see things of this nature, because if you don't nip them in the bud, a time comes that people lose trust in the governance system, democracy, that the old order would have been the best order. And you've seen the situation in other parts of the West African sub-region and other. We don't want that. So we continue to deepen the ethos regarding democratic processes and make sure that everybody fall in line, and then it becomes the only game in town.
All right. We don't want a reversal of the democratic gains or penetration that we've had so far. Let me bring in Haruna Mohammed. He is Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Haruna, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you this morning?
Oh, very tight. Some after.
You must be happy.
After a week long work, and I think that is what we give grace to Allah.
All right. Have you seen the video in respect of Sumemfua and Professor Kingsley Nyako?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Oh, wow. You've also not seen it?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Let's start with basically what happened in Aiso. What do you know? Were you on the ground?
First and foremost, I would want to say a good morning to your cherished viewership and the entire people of Ghana, and also to thank His Excellency, the President and the Vice President, for raising the occasion and giving us the morale to be able to annex this particular victory. And thumbs up to the national leadership of the New Patriotic Party. I have been in Aiso for the past 2 weeks, working through the General Secretary of our party, Lawyer Justin Kodua Frimpong, making sure that I have been able to go through all the 28 electoral areas that exist in the Aiso. We also subdivided into 38, adding 10 more to it to make it in smaller groups. We've actually done a lot of work in Aiso, and I'm
sorry, Haruna, for the sake of time, it's a very concise conversation. The work you did before now is not what I'm asking you about. I'm asking you about whether you were on the ground. What did you see on D-Day? For the sake of time, I beg you.
Yes, I have been on the ground. I was for an electoral area that consists of 8 polling stations, and I manned those polling stations from beginning to the end. And I believe that what I saw there was very perfect. Things happened naturally, and victory was annexed by the New Patriotic Party in those areas, largely in the entire constituency. Work was very smooth. There have not been any skirmishes. We have not had any security reports and all that. Less that there was low turnout, which has always been associated with by-elections in Ghana.
Right. Now, in terms of the turnout, were you surprised that Kwabena Owusu Eduomi was able to garner 40+% of the votes, almost 45% of the votes. Did that surprise you?
If I say I'm surprised, then I should be surprised of my comment, because this is a gentleman that we have brought out. We made him to contest for the 2008 elections of our party. He removed a cabinet minister per competition because the core values of the New Patriotic Party stresses on competition. He became a member of parliament for 3 times for the good people of Aiso. So it's not a person that you should just throw away at any point in time. This election was more of intra-politics than inter-politics. So basically, MPP was competing among themselves because of the circumstances that we had found ourselves. And I believe that what Ediomi garnered truly represents the spirit and the fight of the people of the New Patriotic Party, where hard work and is being rewarded. And there's the recognition of contributing to community development.
Are you sad that Ediomi has left the party?
Yes, I am sad because political parties use numbers to win elections. So if I say I am not sad, then I am not in for positivity for the New Patriotic Party. I am very sad because one number is very important. And many people who have benefited from Ediomi in person or as a member of parliament will definitely have something to say. And I must be sad that we have gotten to this particular stage where Ediomi had decided to go independent.
And that is corroborated by, I mean, your national chairman, Stephen Aiso, in team yesterday also made mention of the fact that he wasn't happy about that. He himself was on the ground. But crucial question, if Ediomi is not reined in, and if he goes again, whether with whatever alliance or as an independent, again in the elections, he's going to throw sand in your Gary. Is the MPP going to try to bring him back into the fold? Because as of now, he's not a member of your party.
It's early days now. We just finished the elections yesterday. You know we have given Ediomi a lot of opportunities to contest on the ticket of the party. He lost the primaries to the former member of parliament. And when we opened the recent one with John Kuma, he did not contest. We gave him the opportunity. John Kuma went unopposed. John Kuma passes by the calling of Allah, and we opened the nominations. He could not, or he did not contest. So a lot of opportunities have been given to Honorable Ediomi, who has been a very staunch party member. He decided to trigger a particular aspect of the party's constitution to forfeit his membership. For us to be discussing this today, I believe it's still early days. Yes, the national chairman has made a very categorical statement on this matter and has taken it personal that he's going to ensure that some level of consultations goes on. Even before Alan left, national chairman played a very critical role. The general secretary played a very critical role, but that does not materialize because certain positions and stands has already been taken. So in this particular stage, I think it's early days yet. Let's leave this to the national leadership to look at it and then make a very concise information on that. But in terms of reconciliation, we all know that reconciliation is not an event. It's a process. So we would start this particular process. Remember, people who voted for Ediomi are not necessarily followers of Ediomi, but might be the sympathizers who are in the New Patriotic Party. We would have gotten this justification right if Ediomi had a presidential candidate and goes independent, or supported somebody in the presidential candidature in terms of elections in presidential and parliamentary elections. Then we would have been able to know whether this person, they only loved Ediomi but loved their political party, where we have sketch and block. But this is not offered as the opportunity to use science and data to do this analysis. But on the face of it, I admit that we need numbers, and all these people must be spoken to. But it's early days here to make a definitive statement on this particular matter. I leave that to national leadership.
Two quick issues I want to run by you before I let go of you. Are you close to a TV, or do you have, I know you have more than one phone. Are you close to a TV set?
No, I'm not.
You have your other phone with you, right?
Yes, I have my other phone with me.
Okay. I would encourage you to go on Joy News on Facebook. Just go to Joy News on Facebook on your other phone. Mr. Director, I want you to play the video. Since Haruna Mohammed says he's not seen the video, I want you to play the video of Professor Kingsley Nyako in Sememfua in the Aiso constituency, so he can see it and then give me a response. All right, so that's the video. So what is happening in the video, you would see Professor Kingsley Nyako move to a section where election officers are, and then he takes out an envelope, gives it to 2 officers, turns around, looks left and right, and then departs. You still say you've not seen that video. I want to believe if it had been a member of the other side, you would have seen the video, just as if it had been a member of the other side, they would have seen your video. What are your thoughts on what I've explained? I'm sure you've at least heard, that you say you've heard. What are your thoughts on it, and what do you think should be the remedial measures to prevent same in election 2024?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, my other phone doesn't have Facebook. The one I'm using to speak with you is what I use on my Facebook. So I've still not seen the video.
Okay.
But I've heard you explain what actually transpired.
Right.
And from my understanding is that Dr. Kingsley Nyako did not call these officers into the dark room or any place to give them an envelope. He gave it to them publicly at where they were sitting. Right. And I believe that I've taken through the CI 127, which regulates public elections in Ghana. I've not seen anywhere that it is said that the definition of what he gave to them, they said he gave them lunch. I want to make this particular reference. All political parties have any point in time given Electoral Commission temporal officers who have been working either on registration or elections have given them lunch.
Does that make it right? Does that make it right? Per the guidelines, does it make it right?
If you give me the opportunity, you will understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that all political parties have given Electoral Commission temporal officers.
I'm asking, does it make it right? The EC clearly has a role to provide for them transportation, feeding, and that is not your work.
My brother, you don't define canned gestures. If you are giving somebody lunch, they sometimes party officers cook food. They come and give agents and they pick some for them. Is it because this one is money? They do so. They do so. Even you media, when we invite you programs, you come to programs. The parties give food, packed food. You eat. What is wrong with giving somebody lunch in a process? What is wrong with giving people lunch in the process? Political parties have always done this, giving people food, cooked food.
This was money.
Yeah, but the point is that it is established that he gave them lunch. It is money that comes into lunch. Money can be converted into any other thing. And I can't remember that maybe there has been investigation or there was a specific instruction that was given when the envelope. Did any instruction, was any instruction issued upon giving out the envelopes? From your narrative, he gives it to them and he turns around, look at his left and right, and then leaves. He did not tell them, do this for me, do that for me, do that.
Okay.
And nothing happened at the polling station. He did not bring foreign material or additional votes to pardon up the votes. He gave them lunch, and that has been it. If we have a definition as to how to cure some of these things, then we must be able to revise our electoral laws to be able to cover some of this. Other than that, political parties have always been doing that.
All right. You say the money could be converted to lunch. Some would say it would also be converted into a bribe in different ways. But on the back of what you know, some are saying the police, the OSP, that's my final bit to you, Haruna. Should the police investigate just for the sake of clearing the air, the OSP, or you think it's a non-issue?
For me, I'm not a lawyer. What will make a perfect democracy, I am for it. If it is that it has to be investigated and to be proved further to know the right intentions of the good professor, I don't think it's a bad instance. But I don't think there's anything wrong. I've come through the laws, the law that governs elections. That has been something that I sleep, drink, and eat with, and I've not seen anything wrong on the face of CI 127.
All right. Thank you very much, Haruna Mohammed, for joining the conversation, Deputy General Secretary with the MPP. But we also want to hear from the other side, the NDC, to find out what their thoughts are on this matter, especially as election 2024 will involve them at that level as well. We have Mustafa Gbande. He is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Mustafa, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Quick thoughts on Aiso and then the alleged bribery incident. You've heard your counterpart. What is your take?
Yeah, so first of all, let me deal with the alleged bribery first, because that's a very important matter.
Mustafa, you'd have to reposition yourself. I can't hear you so well.
Yeah, can you hear me?
It's better. Please go ahead.
I'm saying that I was listening to my brother. He conveniently put a matter that is situated within the context of bribery and taking of bribe to mean it's lunch. But he ignorantly do not appreciate what the law says. And I am guided by the law. He went to read CI 127. But when you read Act 29, Criminal Code of Ghana, the Member of Parliament is a suspect of giving bribe, and the EC officer is a suspect for taking bribe. Because you see, the perimeter within which these activity occurred is a restricted perimeter. And the only reason why we deploy police to those perimeters is to ensure that unlawful activities do not take place there. And so I don't see even the reason why the Member of Parliament wasn't arrested on the spot. This is not some exemptions that comes with the Constitution and what MPs can escape. He has committed an offense on the spot. He should be arrested and then investigated. It is not a matter to be referred to OSP. OSP has so much to deal with, and he's not dealing with because he's scared of the president. It is a matter that the police can deal with.
Mustafa,
hello?
If this had been an election involving the NDC and a member of the NDC had done this, will you be talking the way you're talking now?
Exactly, the person should be arrested. Even if it is my mother that is caught giving bribe, he should be arrested.
In one of your primaries, hold for me. In one of your primaries back then, you had this lady contesting in one of the constituencies. I've just forgotten the constituency. Open top vehicle, 4x4, going round, not once, twice, throwing out money to delegates and all of that. You didn't call for her arrest.
No, wait. You are mixing monetization to bribery of a public officer. They are not the same. Someone was seen flashing money. Monetization, even the party have reprimanded the third person. But this one is an individual attempting to bribe a public officer on duty. Why? Is the lady the girlfriend of the MP? Even if it's a girlfriend, why didn't he give the money to him in the bedroom? Why must he come to a voting center, come to the perimeter of voting, only to be given money and call it lunch? Is he the one that's supposed to take care of the officers? In the eyes of Ghanaians, the third public officer, who is an officer of the Electoral Commission, has been paid to do his job or her job. He doesn't need lunch from the MPP. He doesn't need lunch from an MP. If you go to this MP's constituency, people are dying today of anger, poverty, they can't pay school fees. But you have money to be paying bribes at the perimeter of voting.
Okay,
so you cannot equate what happened in Ejura, where a young lady was flashing money on a car, to an officer attempting to bribe an Electoral Commission officer. The elements are not the same.
All right, so we are trying to do this. Mustafa, relax. We're trying to do this quickly because there's another aspect of the conversation we have to go on to after we are done with you. So please, very quickly on the election proper, what is your take, the results and everything? What is the way forward? Quickly on that.
First of all, let me remark that MPP is a party whose government is in power. 2, Ashanti region is a stronghold of the MPP, plus Aiso constituency. In 2020 election, Honorable John Kuma garnered about 80% of the vote. MPP got a paltry 17%. Today, voter turnout is about 49%, which indicates huge disenchantment, huge protest against the government. It defeats the proposition that when your government is in power, you are affected and impacted by the government, so therefore you enjoy. That is not the case of the people of Ejisu. And the manifestation is that until John Kuma died, we have not seen a road minister with machines in Ejisu constructing roads until he died. Until this by-election, the people of Ejisu didn't see development. President Akufo-Addo is a president who does not work. He sits at the Jubilee House until one MP dies or something happens. We go for by-election, then the people will see development.
I don't think that's a fair comment. I don't think that's a fair comment. You've seen him cutting swords for different, infrastructure. You've seen Agenda 111. You've seen him recently in Kumasi for Ameri.
For a lot of projects. He hasn't commenced those projects.
Are you saying there's no project he's done?
You are
he's
here,
worked on?
and they gave you a report of one village, one dam. People are making videos exposing government non-completion of those projects. So cutting sword is not the same as development.
I'm saying there are projects that have been completed.
Monumental development.
Are there not projects that have been completed?
Say that again, sir.
Are there not projects that have been completed?
I'm saying that until this by-election, the people of Ejisu will not have seen any grader constructing their roads and a road minister in their constituency. And that is the fact. That is the fact. I have dared the MPP to show any monumental physical project in Ejisu that employs 10 people. They have not been able to give me that yet. What is development in Ashanti region? So clearly, the people are rejecting corruption. The people are saying enough. You cannot use Ashanti region as a conduit to continue to misbehave in government. So therefore, we are defeating the purpose of the universal support that we have for MPP. We'll go for an independent candidate. And again, Eduomi is a personality that is respectable. He speaks very calmly, and I'm told that he has developed, he's made some impact in the constituency. So therefore, one individual contesting election against government, where they deploy their president, their vice president, national chairman of MPP, general secretary of MPP, national organizer of MPP, national security, road ministry, all of them gave them only 55%. That is a shame on this government.
All right, thank you.
That is an indication that the people have rejected the normal slogan, Ashanti region is becoming rationally oriented towards voting, and they will definitely vote for development. They will vote for what is right and vote against what is wrong. And
thank
that
you
is
very
what
much. Mustafa Gbande is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. He also shared his thoughts on this matter. Let me come to my two other guests, and then we cap off the conversation. So I'll start with you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. On the other issue of the minority in Parliament saying, look, some of you are nominees for ministerial or deputy ministerial roles. You've not been approved by Parliament. Why are you acting in those positions substantively? You've not received approval yet. It also arose on the back of Dr. Okoboy and some of his recent actions as health minister designate. Quick thoughts on that matter. Very briefly, gentlemen, we are pressed for time.
I think that, members of Parliament, they know the rules of the game. So you don't want to do anything that your intention is to undermine the work of Parliament. I'm not sure any MP want to do that. So if this has come to the fore, I expect that those who are engaged in it would get desist from doing that. It's not the best. Because you see, there is one thing, you being a nominee, you've gone through vetting in Parliament. There is another thing that your appointment need to be approved by Parliament. It can be approved based on consensus, or it will be brought to what? The plenary for a discussion and all that. And
or it may not even be approved.
Yes, I'm coming there. When it's brought to a plenary, all right, one of the conditions is that they did not agree based on consensus. So it had to be discussed. And sometimes you will be sitting in there and things people would say about you. I was privileged when I was a reporter with the Ghanaian Chronicle, where I listened to the vetting of one of the MPs that the NDC accused of having engaged in certain corrupt practices. And then MPP decided that we use their numbers to bulldoze their way through. So they decided that bring it to the plenary and let's discuss. Look, when they started the discussion, the gentleman got up, Mr. Speaker, I want to take the opportunity to thank you and the president for this, but I don't want to be a deputy minister. And end of story. All right. So you don't want to go into that hole and it creates all manner of problems for you and all that. Let them do the right thing, because they should remember that they are the makers of the law. And what we expect from them is that they will, after passing the law, they will ensure that we all follow through the processes and get the law.
So, Doc, just to get an understanding, briefly, because I want this to be very brief, just to get an understanding, is it wrong from where you sit for them to hold themselves up as ministers when they have not been cleared?
They are not ministers yet. Are they ministers?
Okay. All right.
Who has the president given them their letters of credence for them to be able to work as ministers?
Right.
They will say no to this question. They are not ministers yet.
All right.
Remember that even Parliament plays an embargo on it, that they want the Supreme Court issues to be dealt with before they come to that issue. Remember that. So how do you even reconcile that one with the position of Parliament and all that?
All right.
With respect, I want them to stay away. Let them finish all the process, because look, if they are due for the position, it will be given to them. But if they are not, it will be a different story.
Dr. Osai-Kwapong, what's your take on this?
I do agree with Dr. Sasante that, at this stage you are a nominee. You will have to wait for, the approval to be given and the letters of credence to be given to you by the president. And so for me, it's not best practice to be holding out yourself as the substantive minister when all of the processes have not been concluded. I don't think that it portends well for good governance.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll come to you, gentlemen, just for your reflection, but just to let you know what I'll come to you on. The Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs has also given some clarity on the tradition of respect for authority. Basically, in essence, it's saying that when the president is coming, whether you're a chief or whomever you are, stand up and show respect. And recently, of course, it is on the back of that video where there was some resistance. And some are asking, is that the right thing to do? To tell chiefs to stand up? Look at that video. The president is basically saying, you want to shake me and you want to sit down? Me, the president, stand up. We'll come to you on that. Traditional authority versus, the status quo, legal authority. But let me bring in Anose Bonsu just quickly on this bit. Hold for me, gentlemen. He is aide to Kwabena Owusu Eduomi, who contested as an independent candidate in Aiso. Anose Bonsu, good morning. Nana, can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning.
All right, we have to do this very briefly. What are your takeaways from yesterday, from the bribery allegations and to the loss of your candidate? Briefly.
Okay, so good morning to you, US. With respect to that subject matter, we are having a meeting this morning.
Which one? Which one?
The issues concerning the elections yesterday. We're having a meeting this morning, after which we would address the press.
So what can you tell us as of now? Are you happy? Have you accepted the results from yesterday?
I'm unable to say anything now.
You don't know whether you are accepting the results or not?
Over results have been declared.
And I'm saying, how do you feel about them? Do you accept that you lost?
And I'm saying we're having a meeting this morning. So let's finish with the meeting and we'll address the press.
Professor Kingsley Nyako is spotted in the video giving some money to an election officer. Do you have any reaction to that?
Well, you saw it yourself. You see, the scale of what happened yesterday, it's unbelievable. But as I mentioned earlier, we'll be addressing the press on this issue.
All right. Nanose Bonsu, thank you very much for joining the conversation. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. I'll come back to you, gentlemen. I'll start with you this time, Dr. Osai-Kwapong. That bit the clash of, maybe you can call it the clash of the titans. Mr. President versus some chiefs. Interestingly, though, when you go to a certain part of the country, and I'm not trying to be ethnic here, some chiefs don't get up, or some other traditional rulers don't get up. I don't know, but your quick thoughts on that, and it's a wrap.
Yeah, so it's interesting that the Ministry of Chieftaincy Affairs issued that statement yesterday, because prior to that, I had actually asked a friend privately that what is the protocol, because I wasn't sure what the actual protocol is, when you stand and when you don't stand, etc., etc. And so it was quite interesting reading the statement from Chieftaincy Affairs. For me, I just hope this doesn't sort of pit traditional authorities versus, the presidency. I mean, if the Chieftaincy Ministry is saying it's a sign of respect, I also think that there's a respectful way of nudging, the traditional authorities to, quote unquote, stand to greet you. I found it very interesting that we stand as a cultural practice. You have to stand to greet your elders. I mean, I do understand that, right? If I went to my hometown in Ekropon and I was sitting down and my grandmother walked in, I would get up, as a sign of respect. But, you're talking traditional authority versus, like you said, our sort of more...
executive authority.
Executive authority. And for me, at the end of the day, whatever the right protocols are, I hope it is done in a way that doesn't seem to be suggesting that one is being belittled or one is being disrespected, which is what is becoming the growing perception that some chiefs are being disrespected. And for me, I don't think that augurs well for, that sort of...
Finally, on that same thing, the body language, the president, the others in his entourage, and basically, what does that communicate?
Yeah, it doesn't communicate, for me, in my opinion, a sign of respect. So even if it's to say to them, hey, this is the protocol, the president is coming, you ought to get up and greet your elder, the highest authority of the land. I think there's a way of diplomatically and respectfully going about it. But as people from Ekropon, that's our hallmark. You do everything with the utmost respect.
Doc,
yes,
Dr. Asante, I had to say, I say now over what is your take?
That is another Ekropon person also speaking. Yes, but you see, yes, much as I agree with tradition, I am a typical traditional person. I'm not a Christian. I'm a very traditional person.
Right.
So I believe in traditional authority and all that. Yes, that. All that I want to know, Dr. Papong has said, and I want to also agree with that. But what we can add is that let it be universal, so that, yes, some people do not feel that, look, one can, if you get to certain parts of this country, you can throw that rule away and all that. It should be universal. For any policy or a measure to be respected, it should be universal. Then everybody goes with that. And then the socialization must be intensified that, look, this is what we ought to do at all times. Remind people. If they've forgotten, then they do that. But I want to look at it carefully. With all respect, I'm not expecting my president to be wasting time on this, all right? Let other people deal with it. He should pretend as if he has not seen and move on. Because, you see, there are other aspects of it which we have not talked about. The issue of if somebody doesn't get up, all right, sometimes you don't know. There is a condition that on the spell of the moment, the person has a stomach ache or something, he can't get up. I would like the president entourage and all that to gloss over and move on, because the whole mass of people are on their feet. It shows you that they respect the president and all that. So move on, because I have seen it. One, you recall there was a celebration, and then the president was directing the Greater Accra regional minister to go and ensure that a certain chief got up. That, for me, with all respect, I was not expecting my president to be busy looking at that. No, it's yes. Let other people deal with it, but the president directing No. Then I've seen this in what? OT and other places. All right. I believe that the president should just, what our cans will say, opinion dear mante. You gloss over it, move on. Once you get the bulk of the people on their feet, you move on. Because it can happen to anybody. There are sometimes we have to be sensitive to the plight of the people. There are some chiefs that if you look at them, health grounds, they are not supposed to even to be at the function. But for the sake of the president, I want to be there. I'm not well. I want to be there. Do you want them to get up and fall down eventually and all that? Gloss over it, move on, do your program and move on. Anybody in this country worth your salt, you believe that the president is the one gentleman, you accord him all the respect and all that. If there is somebody that with the intention or to disrespect the president, forget about it and move on. That's my humble advice with respect to the president.
All right.
But these are things that he can look at, ignore them, and move on. Because once you see the bulk of the people there on their feet, it tells you. Because I've seen another video, if that is true, where there was a lady standing next to the president, listening to a call where a national anthem was played. People were saying that daughter of the president. I have no evidence to say that that is the true situation or not. But if it is true, then on what basis, all right, was the president also acting?
All right.
Those are the dynamics.
Right. We have to go. Just give me a yes or no to this. So the statement from the chieftaincy ministry, was it necessary? Necessary or not?
I think that they should go beyond this.
Was it necessary?
Make sure that, no, I'm saying that, yes, it's necessary. You remind us of what we're supposed to do. But they should go beyond this and make it universal and ensure that it is universally applied to everybody. So that nobody feel separated.
Necessary or not?
No, not necessary.
Not necessary. All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having joined the conversation. Let me just say this. On account of how I was brought up, I would address an elderly person, whether here at work or whatever. I would stand when I'm interacting with my channel manager. But I will still stand out of respect. But like has been delineated, it mustn't be as though you would foist it on people and make it appear because they were not, for whatever reasons, they were completely out of line. I would stand anyway if I had to greet anybody. But it is what it is.
If you are sick, would you be to stand?
Pardon me?
If you are sick at the spell of the moment.
Oh, I'm saying that unless you are taking stock of those extenuating circumstances, I would stand. But with those extenuating circumstances, if I had diarrhea, I wouldn't want to stand. So, thank you very much to Dr. Kwame Asante, political scientist, director of the Center for European Studies, Dr. John Osai Kwapong, he's a CDD fellow. We had Mustafa Gbande, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. We had Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Hopefully you've enjoyed the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be back with a lot more shortly.
Thanks for joining us on Focus on Africa. I'm Waihiga Mwaura.
This is a covert operation on the hunt to catch a criminal.
We've been here for nearly a week and this camp seems to grow every day.
The nightmare of hyperinflation has haunted Zimbabwe for over 20 years now.
Why is racism seemingly such a hard nut to crack for La Liga?
I think they are the first to say that they have not done enough.
Now to a new bill that could change the lives of African students in the United Kingdom, but not for the better. Well, joining me now in studio is Anita Nkonge, the BBC's youth reporter. I imagine there have been quite some reactions to that announcement by the UK government.
Yes, a whole bunch of mixed reactions.
For months, I've been investigating a form of blackmail that has become so prevalent in Nigeria that it's got its own name: keto.
How widespread would you say this blackmail phenomenon known as keto is in Nigeria?
Every week they get about 20 to 30 reports of cases of people saying that they either were close to be blackmailed.
The BBC's Umaru Fofana is in Freetown.
Hardly would anybody have predicted that in our lifetime we would see it lying down like this.
Climate change is here, and it's still, it is here. We have to change our ways, or it is going to teach us a lot of lessons.
The Agbechi Living Water Expedition is a research expedition and also a swim to draw attention to the influx of textiles to Ghana, specifically second-hand clothing waste.
What can the citizens themselves do to protect themselves?
So look at how you can empower the health sector, education and agriculture and the water sector.
It is not that Spain is a racist country, but that they acknowledge that there is a problem of education that must be dealt with.
The BBC's Nyasha Michelle has been talking to the British actress and finding out more about the show.
What would you say to those who are saying it's pushing a particular Afrocentrism narrative?
Why, if there's a possibility that she might have been of biracial heritage, she can't be played by an actress of biracial heritage?
From me and the rest of the Focus on Africa.
Welcome back on the AM show. Now, often dismissed as the baby blues, depression associated with childbirth, also called postpartum depression, is one of the leading causes of female attrition at the workplace. Now, manifesting as a lack of concentration, sleep challenges, low self-esteem, among others, PPD is mistaken as a character flaw. But is it that? As Ghana joins the rest of the world to mark International Maternal Mental Health Day, two organizations, Mental Pulse Africa and Maltiti Foundation, are assembling a community of mothers to discuss this all-important issue and find answers to them. And joining us via Zoom, we have Ira Adams Karim. He's the Executive Director of the Maltiti Foundation. And in the studio, we have Faustina Boama, Midwife Fausti, as she's fondly called. She's a senior midwife and a women's rights advocate. She joins the conversation. Fausti, good morning.
Good morning.
I called you by your... just tell us a bit about World Maternal Mental Health Day. What does this really represent?
Okay, so as we join the world today to celebrate the World Maternal Mental Health Day, it's all to advocate and then create more awareness on mental health that women, especially pregnant women and women who have delivered, usually experience. So it is just to let them know the signs that when they see, they should report to the health facility immediately for proper intervention, and then so that we will encourage them more that they are not alone in this.
I see. So Maternal Mental Health Day. Postpartum depression is real. Many people here would tell you, oh, we be do. I mean, I will pain and all of that. We sometimes belittle the issues. And even worse, sometimes the belittling comes from other women who make it appear you're being a bit too much, a bit too dramatic about the situation. About how many women suffer this on a scale of maybe 1 to 10? How many out of 10? If you have, the statistics in Ghana.
Okay, so in Ghana here, we have a lot of women going through this. If you take about 10 women, I don't have the current statistics now, but with what we have previously, if you take 10 women, you have 2 or 3 out of them experiencing postpartum depression. And then another thing is that when statistics are being taken, there are some that may not have reported or may not have counted in the numbers. So I believe that there are even more than what we know or have in the books. Yes, so that's it.
And I mean, that of course is a great cause for concern. But let me see whether I can get the Executive Director of the Maltiti Foundation, Ira Adams Karim. Ira, good morning.
Morning to you, Akapo. How are you doing, my brother? It's been a while.
It has. I could be better, but we're here for God and country.
Absolutely.
How do you feed your group? How do you feed into this conversation about maternal mental health? And why should we even be throwing the spotlight on it on a day like this?
All right. So thank you very much. But a very good morning to you as well, once again, and a good morning to Fosti, who would be on our panel later today. And good morning to all of your cherished viewers out there. So for Maltiti Foundation, we very much focus on working on economic issues of women. So we're looking at issues of economic empowerment and all of that. But at a point, we come to the realization that you cannot fully empower someone economically if you're not looking at other aspects that make them or that give them the ability to work and to achieve the purpose that they want to achieve in life. And so if you're looking at economic empowerment, you obviously have to start looking at issues of education. You have to start looking at issues of health and nutrition. And so as part of the health and nutrition aspect of the work that we do is where maternal mental health comes in. Because over the years, in the past 6 years of our work, especially in the rural parts of Ghana, we've realized that this is one of the prevailing issues. However, as a result of not having knowledge about the issues and all of that, people would typically just try and tie it around some superstition or try and tie it around witchcraft and all of that. And so for us as an organization, we came to the realization that it's important that we start throwing more light on this particular issue and seeing how best we can create more advocacy, how best we can put systems in place to curtail it and to ensure that we are able to achieve our long-standing goal of economically empowering women. And to be able to do that, we believe that healthcare is one of the priorities that we need to look at, and that does not leave out maternal mental health. So that's how we come into the picture as far as this is concerned.
It also is a crucial matter of education, isn't it? Which groupings, apart from the generality of the population, but which institutions, groupings are you looking at by way of disseminating the right information?
All right, so for now, one of the things that we're doing, obviously, we are looking at starting with other CSOs. So we are working with more CSOs now to see how best we can push the information out there and get them to collaborate with us to be able to do that. Now, beyond that, of course, we're looking at also working with the health service. We're looking at working with the Ministry of Health. We're looking at women groups, especially within the community, the religious groups and all of that. And so for us and our partners, Mentor Pulse, we've lined up a series of activities that we're going to be running from today all the way to the end of the year, targeting various aspects of the issue. Obviously, looking at issues of advocacy, looking at issues of education, looking at issues of putting in place systems to ensure that there is help readily available for women who identify the symptoms, who identify the signs of postpartum depression, and not just limiting it to them also, but even seeing how best we can rope in their partners or their husbands or their brothers or whatever it is, because the men also need to understand what the issues are. And so when the education goes out there and they start seeing the signs and symptoms, they will also know how to be able to participate, in helping the women get over this one. So we're looking at the general population, obviously, but then we're also targeting certain institutions and certain groupings who will play particular roles in ensuring that we're able to achieve our aim for this particular project.
Let me come back into the studio as we get ready to wind down on the conversation. Faustina, you're a midwife, you're a women's rights advocate. You see this happen from time to time. What toll does it take on these women? I mean, for some of them, how long does it last? I hear it can last anywhere between months to years, and sometimes they don't even want to see their own children. There's a certain withdrawal and all that. How bad is it, and what would be your parting words for us in terms of how seriously we should take this?
Yes, so Postpartum depression is real and it's very serious. I've experienced or had an encounter with women who have gone through that. So right from antenatal, that's an antenatal clinic, what we as midwives do is that we do educate them on things that they are going to experience. As when you take a woman who has not gotten pregnant before, that's her first time. Those are the ranges of women that usually experience that because that's her first time. She has never gotten pregnant. She has never experienced emotions and hormones running up and down and all that. So
like doing logology throughout her body, doing things she's never experienced.
I know, right? So these women are being educated on what is expected during pregnancy, and then we encourage male involvement and then family and community involvement. It's her first time. She needs your support. At least when she comes home, you need to help.
And pause there, because me wasem bonepo. The men. You know, one of the things I find the most disgusting. Oh, ajwa ubanu soon. What the you know, those kinds of things. So I know part of this is also where the men are not very supportive or not supportive at all, or maybe, you know, they just leave everything on the woman and then depression sets in, right?
Yes. So it is very important that as we throw more light on the signs and symptoms that when they see they have to report, it's vital that it's not just the woman that needs to know the signs, like she gets not being able to sleep, that's insomnia, crying, having mood swings and all that. If she is aware and you as a family or a partner is aware as well, maybe at that time she might not know that this is what I'm going through. But because you were involved during the antenatal clinic, you have an idea that she's at risk of experiencing postpartum depression. So when you see all these signs, baby is crying, she doesn't want to hold baby, she feels that baby has become a burden, you should bring her to the nearest health facility and she'll be assessed properly for.
So let's not say, oh, it's normal. No, it's normal. No. Seek help.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Ira, you have the final word. I hear you, reacting to some of the stuff.
No, I mean, of course, I agree, especially to the part where you mentioned that it's important that the men, equally play an important role when it comes to issues of childbirth and all of that. Go with your wife to antenatal after she gives birth. Be with her throughout the process. That sort of encouragement, also helps to overcome some of these issues. And so I'd also just want to tell the general public that Mental Pulse Africa Multi-T Foundation, we've decided to embark on this particular journey. And as I intimated earlier, we have lined up a number of activities covering the issues of, maternal mental health, covering the issues of postpartum depression. And we're definitely calling out to the general public, calling out to other CSO donors and what have you to come on board, especially the media, to come on board and support us in this, advocacy role that we intend to embark on. It's important. We should not just, just look at it as one of those issues and say, no, we need to pay attention. We don't just need to, just brush it off and leave it at that. Let's go out there, let's support women and all of that. And I'm sure at the end of the day that we should be making some headway because the statistics are really staggering. Sometimes it goes as high as 36%, especially in the northern parts of our country. And so it's a major issue. It's not just any issue. It's a major issue, and we need to pay close attention to it.
Thank you, Ira, for joining the conversation. Postpartum depression is real. Let's take it more seriously. And of course, mental health is crucial to our well-being. Those who joined us for this conversation, we had Ira Adams-Karim. He's Executive Director, Multi-T Foundation. And in the studio, she's a midwife. She's a women's rights advocate as well, Faustina Bawumia. Thank you so much for doing us the honors. Now, stay with us. When we return, we're also going to contemplate a bit, go back to the SML, GRA, and then the KPMG report and the white paper on it. We have our guest who is going to be sharing some interesting thoughts on that. Up next on the AM Show. Do stay. Thank you for staying with us. We're going to have that conversation on the SML GRA conversation, the KPMG report and the white paper issued on it. Joining me for a conversation is Professor Samuel Entry, Dean of Graduate Studies at the University for Professional Studies, Accra. He has an interesting take on it. Prof, Good morning.
Morning to your viewers. How are you?
I'm okay. I hope you are too.
I'm doing well on a rainy morning.
It's a very rainy morning. Lucky for those of you who are at home, we had to get up very early and come to work. But in the next few minutes, I want us to address some crucial issues. What do you make of the auditing done by KPMG and the subsequent white paper on the SML deal? Some have even gone in there and say that the proposal was that we should scrap the deal, but the white paper says we're going on with some portions renegotiated or to be renegotiated. Your take?
All right, so we need to get a little background of this story. We understand that GRA contracted SML to monitor petrol liftings and ensure that volumes lifted declared for tax purposes by OMCs are complete and accurate. So the fourth estate noted that the services provided by SML to GRA did not result in increment in petroleum volumes and by extension, increment in tax revenues. So some civil society organizations, including SEP and Imani, also performed some analysis using petroleum volumes liftings data from MPA and GRA and concluded that SML's services only resulted in marginal changes. So this started a public debate which brought in the President of the Republic to contract KPMG. Now let's understand that immediately KPMG was contracted, another debate started of their independence. That is when I started putting up write-ups. That, look, for an auditor, is an independent body to come and investigate a matter that has been contracted to do. So KPMG was contracted to look into the deal between GRA and SML. KPMG did the work as was contracted in 2nd January 2024. And then on 24th April, they brought their reports. Now, this is where another public debate starts. That can we all see the KPMG reports so that we can see what the recommendations are? In the wisdom of the presidency, for now, we can't see the report, but they have issued a white paper on the report. On that white paper, there's a lot of arguments that SML did not bring any value in terms of our tax revenues, i.e. the liftings and then increment in tax revenues. I am an accountant. So looking at the debates, I came in to do an analysis to see whether SML contributed anything to increment in volumes and increment in tax revenues. So these are the two major contentions. One, whether SML services has led to closing the gap between petroleum lifting report to NPA for consumption analysis and those reported by GRA for tax purposes. And whether the services from SML have led to increase in tax revenues as a result of increase in declarations of petroleum issues. Now, if you look at the analysis done by the CSOs, Imani and by Simmons, they insist that SML has not brought any value in terms of petroleum liftings or in terms of tax revenues. Now, as an academic, I had interest. The interest is that we need to factually inform public debates. Your opinion is good. You are entitled to your opinion, but you are entitled to an informed opinion. It's very important. So once we get the facts out there, people can be informed to enrich the debate. Now, this is what I did. In fact, SML themselves argued that since they came in, they have contributed to the increment of tax revenue of 12.9 billion Ghana cedis. I think that this claim too is not factual. So both sides, there are some confusion from those from SML itself in their public presentation that this is how much they brought. And then from the CSOs, Imani, and Bryce Simmons.
All right. So because you're talking about the two sides, and before I take your final words, we're pressed for time. What methodology did you use?
So what I did was to take the report from NPA reported petroleum volume liftings for consumption. Then I look at GRA petroleum volume liftings derived from petroleum tax revenue reported by GRA in its annual report. Now, what I did was to look at pre-SML and post-SML.
Okay.
Then I was able to isolate economic activities and increase in OMCs that would have naturally increased the petroleum liftings and the tax revenue.
Okay.
In fact, in all this argument that they are doing, they are unable to isolate the exogenous factors that would have naturally brought increase even if SML was not here.
Okay.
So I did before SML, after SML, and I was able to take out increment in OMCs and increment in economic activities in Ghana.
Okay,
so people are buying a lot of vehicles, etc.
Right.
Now I insist.
That's the methodology.
The difference.
That's the methodology. I get it now. But just quickly, we have to go. Final words. Do you feel SML has added anything? Do you feel SML has added anything? Prof, please hold on for me. Do you feel SML has added anything worthy of continuing with the contract? Final words on that.
So my final words is that SML has contributed something in terms of tax revenues.
Okay.
Before SML, people were evading tax. They will leave the oil, they will not pay the tax. SML serves as a monitoring mechanism. We need to isolate exactly what they have contributed. I say that they have not contributed what they say they have contributed, but they have brought some value to the table. We can assess the value.
How much value have they brought? How much value have they brought? Can you put it in CD or dollar terms?
So in terms of so SML, when I did my analysis, SML has brought about, give me a minute, let me check the figures.
We don't have even 10 seconds. We really have to go. We really have to go now.
Okay, so SML has brought about, they insist that they have contributed. Let's look at what they said. I'm sure we may need to continue this discussion some other time.
So Prof, we'll do that some other time. We'll plan the conversation. I just wanted you to hit the nail on the head. But joining us, that was Professor Samuel Entry, Dean of Graduate Studies at the University for Professional Studies, Accra. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
You're welcome and good morning. Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you. We're capping off the conversation, wrapping up the show now. After this, you will not see me. But up next, we're going to play for you James Eshen's AM Business Report for today. It focuses on post-harvest losses and how that is impacting not just the agricultural sector, but our economy generally. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. It's been a pleasure coming your way on the AM show. Thank you for watching. We leave you with AM Business. Enjoy.
Starting your production, don't get any loan from anywhere, and so even getting money to start. And these days, because of the nature of our farming, we don't want to do like the traditional way. We also want to take it like in a modern form. And so with these pineapples, these days we plant it on this plastic mulch. Okay. And even the cost of plastic mulch, because of this current economy, has risen up to some point that we can't even afford. I think it was around 1,200 just past November, December. As I'm talking to you now, 2,400. We are buying it. And if you want to cultivate and you want to start on a new land, that you need to clear land, you have to afford excavators or even payloaders. And the charge that they are charging now is very costly.
Now, I understand you do pineapple, you do watermelon and other things. And I know watermelon to be one particular fruit that, should I even use the word life or phrase lifespan, that has a very short lifespan. Yeah. How do you want, first and foremost, how do you convey your produce from here to the roadside?
Depending on the customer who will come. Sometimes, and also depending on the load that the customer wants. And so, we sometimes get a boya or case, but our route from the farm to the roadside is very bad. And sometimes the cars will come, they will just get stuck because at the moment, or at the time that you will be harvesting watermelon, it will be in the rainy season. And so the nature of the land doesn't soak a lot of water. So these cars sometimes get stuck, and the remaining fruit, as in the farm, will be there because the road is blocked. Until the car which is blocked is taken away. And so sometimes that is also a challenge to us.
So, since it will be there, do you get some of your fruit being rotten or something?
Yeah.
How often do you experience that? Aside you, let's say there are there instances where you have it here, your buyers are there waiting for you, and you come back and everything's gone?
Though sometimes the cars will get stuck, or even if a car doesn't get stuck, because of the nature of the farming, we do it randomly. And so I will be harvesting here, a friend of mine will be harvesting there. And one big challenge is, as at the time I will be ready to convey the load from here to the roadside, I won't get any car. And so my customer will be waiting, but he or she is not getting the load. Sometimes he has to leave me because he's also dealing with time. Yeah, so that's also a challenge.
So in other instances, how do you preserve some of these? Are there other alternatives for you?
We don't have any alternatives. I quite remember just last month, we have some agric officers from UCC. They came to propose a new, I think it was agro code. This was the project name. They said agro code. They are also aim to teach us how for us to preserve our fruits. And so it is a new introduction that they are bringing it here. Aside that, you don't have any way to preserve our fruits. And so if there's a challenge about the way to transport it or even to get good market, and you are not getting it, all your products have to go waste.
But is it helpful with respect to the UCC agric officers who came around helping you guys with a new alternative?
It's just a new alternative, and we are not yet in.
Oh, okay.
And so they are just trying to interview us to see if we are interested and also the way forward.
So more or less piloting stage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But let me now look at the relationship between yourself and your buyers. What is the relationship like, especially where you have economic challenges, where things are really hiking every now and then? What is the relationship like?
Okay, for me, I've taken one person as an agent. Okay. So I don't deal directly with my customers. I deal directly with the agent. And so the agents deal with the customers. And so I would say I don't have big challenge concerning my money issue because I only deal with the agents. And she's also good to me. And so sometimes she will have challenges with the customers because for me, I don't know them, so I won't go there or attack them for my money. I only know my agent. This is how I sell my product.
Yeah, talking about she will have, not to cut you short, talking about you, she will have challenges with the
customers.
If the challenges, let's say, prolong for some time, it affects you.
Yeah.
So in that sense, how do you guys go about taking your produce out there, having farmers or buyers coming around? How do you guys generally go about this?
You sometimes have to change customers because you won't give product to a customer, monies are not coming, and you will say give in more. No, you have to deal with that customer, and it's also a challenge because as at the time maybe customers' issue will be rising. That means the market is boom. There's a lot, and so even the customer who is playing with your money issues. Meaning at the time there are a lot of products around, and so he or she can get some away, and so that would be another challenge because he or she feels there's a lot, and so we have to deal with customers. We know if our products are boom, they will always be there.
So that's doing the bumper harvest.
Yeah.
Now, finally, what do you think should be the best way for we as a country, I mean, for the agriculture stakeholders, for the agriculture officers and all that in the country to do to preserve some of these our produce basically during bumper harvest? Because we always see this every now and then. So you being a farmer and I've done this for years, what do you think should be some of the best things to be done to have our produce being preserved?
Our only solution is even with fruits, I think pineapple, orange, watermelon, there should be factories, either private or government, so that our fruit will be turned into either fruit juice. And I think when such incentive or factories are around, farmers will not suffer or will not produce and our product will go waste. I don't think it will happen. And so there should be factories so that our products will be turned into either finished or second product for us. And that would be helpful.
I said that was my final question, but you brought in factories. As a farmer, do you think the 1D1F is helping you guys?
No, because we have Commander factory just close to me here. And the factory is not into production. It's not into production. There's a factory at Atamadi. It's also close to me here. And this 1D1F, Akufo-Addo, the president of our nation, I think there was a partnership, but it did not happen. The last thing for us to hear is the factory is being turned into this pure water production, but into food production, it did not happen. And that of Kumfi, I think all from central region, where we are is KE. Those are the coastal lands of pineapple producers. And we thought a Kumfi factory being there, they will extend their buying of pineapple to our area. It did not happen.
Mansa Mensah is a trader at Beposu Market in the central region. She sells cassava. She tells me the cassava goes bad after 2 days. Mansa adds that sales are not always smooth, so she sells her produce to Gari makers to make back her money.
Because now, which may be a water, which may be so on top. Nay, the amount of more akacho gali.
Says I can't to Fibia water to Fibia on out of no Baba Samoka.
I have been say water on so, but no beard. It's water on so. Until I'm a coffee baby, West Casse. And some what baby swamba.
Erica out of was water on Sono. Says I has some book where I am.
Yes, I'm already been a banch in her. Yaji 1.5, you go 1.4. I also banch 1,800,000. Neji.
Now, maybe you be a Washington, then think it's there, BB there.
Darby, I'm washing saying 1 bucket. Medium 1 bucket near Chanukul. I couldn't edge 1.4, no 1.3. You may be a one tap, banch ban 1,800,000. Because I'm put to me 700.